Good morning. The Tory leader Kemi Badenoch admits her party got it wrong on immigration.
As the Home Office prepares to release official migration numbers in just a matter of hours.
I want to rebuild the trust between the Conservative Party and the British people. I know we've got a lot of work to do, but the first step is to accept that mistakes were made.
With another rise in migration numbers, force Labour to get tougher on border security.
Just a day before MPs vote on the assisted dying bill, former Prime Minister Lord Cameron does a U-turn and endorses the controversial legislation.
One day until Ireland votes, as the three largest parties are neck and neck in an election that's just too close to call.
Developments in the Mohammed Al Fayed case as the Metropolitan Police confirm they're now looking at associates of the disgraced businessman who may have assisted in his crimes.
Sixth form teachers are walking out, demanding an above-inflation pay rise, despite the government already caving in to a 5% increase.
As the cold sets in and the loss of winter fuel cuts is felt by pensioners everywhere, we're talking to a community in Leeds who are going above and beyond to help the elderly this winter.
2 weeks into I'm a Celebrity, and the campmates are finding all sorts of ways to entertain themselves. You'll be thrilled to know. Don't miss our insider chat with a jungle veteran.
From one reality show to the next, Strictly Come Dancing semi-finals are this weekend, and we're going to be talking to the legendary Angela Rippon, who became the show's oldest ever contestant on the last series.
And in the real world of sport this morning, in the Champions League, Liverpool beat Real Madrid with draws for Aston Villa and Celtic. Two great players have new managerial roles, and golfer Bryson DeChambeau tries to hit a hole-in-one over his house.
Hello there, good morning. It's a cold and frosty start for many of us, with some fog in places which could be quite slow to clear. I'll be here with all the details.
Just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. Now, we talk a lot about trigger warnings these days.
Oh,
Yes.
trigger warnings.
Apparently, well, it's actually a fact, there is now a trigger warning on the new film Wicked.
What
Is
for?
there?
Because one of the witches is bullied because she has green skin. This is from the British Board of Film Classification. They have slapped a discrimination trigger warning on the film because a green-skinned woman is mocked, bullied and humiliated because of her skin colour.
Apparently Shrek was in bits when he saw it.
Yeah.
That's not surprising.
Would it have happened with Shrek, though? Absolutely not. I mean,
Well,
what?
was he bullied?
Was he bullied for...
Yeah, he was bullied, and they came out with pitchforks
Yeah,
for
but
him.
that's because he was fat and ugly, and the troll.
And I reckon the green skin had something to do with it as well.
So hold on, the troll was trolled. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
OK, right, fine.
Yeah, so this has got a trigger warning, but it doesn't end there. Also, the talking animals are persecuted in the film as well. So there's a trigger warning about that as well.
So when does that come up? Does it come up at the start? Just to say you may be upset by the girl with the green skin.
I imagine it's at the start of the film, yes. But it's been expanded on the website by Natasha Kopinski, who's actually chairing the British Board of Film Classification now. Did you know that?
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh, I used to work with her.
Oh, there you go. I thought you knew her, yeah.
First winner of Strictly Come Dancing as
She
well.
was the first winner of Strictly, yes.
Yeah. She states a green-skinned woman is mocked, bullied and humiliated because of her skin colour. So there you go. But a TV writer has mocked this decision, saying it's ridiculous and counterproductive.
Have you seen it
It's
yet, Ellie?
nonsense. It is just nonsense.
It's a PG film. It's a children's film.
Yeah.
I thought you wanted to go.
Yeah,
I do
you were
want to
desperate to
go.
see it.
Yeah, but there shouldn't be a trigger warning on a PG film, is what I'm saying.
Isn't there not more likely to be one on a PG film?
Oh, that's
because
true.
of little kiddie
That's
winks.
true. But talking animals
All
being...
those green children going could be.
Oh, dear. But it's the magical world of Oz. There's going to be green people and talking animals.
Yeah, goodness sake.
And just because they're bullied in the film. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
See, you won't be going now, will you, Paul?
Well, I was
ruined
going.
it.
Well, no. Now at least I know that in case I get upset by seeing...
Would you get upset by a green-skinned woman being bullied?
honestly, I'd be in a terrible state.
Well, at least you know. We put the trigger warning out there this morning.
I've got to say, I hate the word trigger warning. the concept of being triggered by something.
Be prepared.
Is that just like, well, something might upset me a little bit, and therefore...
You know, when he gets to...
Are we not allowed to be upset remotely
There's scenes of smoking in this film. I mean, what are you going to sit there and go...
People drinking alcohol, yeah.
Oh, my goodness me. I mean, it's just madness.
I get upset every time you walk in the studio.
I know.
I say anything?
Yeah, I know, but at least you get a trigger warning that I'm coming on. Can you imagine before the sport? Trigger warning. Idiot coming up very shortly. You know, it's like, you know, you just got to be careful.
They just seem to be in the wrong place. I mean, I watched a series the other day, I won't say the name, but there was a scene of sexual abuse and there was no trigger warning at all, and
right.
It's really graphic.
Yeah.
So you would think there would be a trigger warning. Maybe at the start of the episode, just there are
You would
scenes
kind of think
this.
so.
No, I mean, something like that, you'd actually understand someone genuinely being triggered by that.
But was it within the context of the story?
Oh, no, it just happened out of nowhere.
Well, it must have been...
Well, it was obviously part of the storyline, so it was in the series, but it
you
came
sort
out
of
of
know
no
what
warning.
you're watching, do you? You know what you're watching. You know if it's a
No,
drama
that's true.
or a...
That's true.
You know, it's like a murder mystery. Someone may be harmed within this...
Yeah, and what about...
On a Bergerac or something.
Horror films, when all of a sudden they make you jump.
Yeah.
So should it be trigger warning... In just a second, someone's got to appear from behind the wall. It may scare you, so be prepared for this. It's just ridiculous.
It defeats the purpose.
It really does defeat the purpose.
We all are just getting too soft.
I don't think you need a trigger warning for a lady with green skin being discriminated against and talking animals being persecuted. Because it's all made up.
Talking animals being persecuted.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Well, frankly, it would upset me. I think I'd survive.
Kermit the Frog did once sing, didn't he? It's not easy being green.
That's right, yeah.
Maybe he was onto something.
Very good.
I think he probably was.
If only you could just go into that song now, that would just be a beautiful end to
It
the
would be a
segment.
beautiful end.
I was setting it up for you, actually.
Sadly, we haven't got time.
Okay.
We haven't got time. Right, Kemi Badenoch, the Conservative leader, has outlined what she's calling a new approach to immigration.
The Conservative leader vows to review Britain's membership of the ECHR, but admits that leaving it would not be a silver bullet.
Well, ahead of the announcement, she released a clip on social media.
We need to talk about immigration. We need a new approach. The system is broken. We can't go on like this. We got it wrong, and we are going to learn. The Conservatives are going to develop a detailed plan for immigration to put before you at the next election. Not the policies of Labour, which are going to fail, but a real plan that will, for the first time in 30 years, actually bring immigration right down and be honest with you about the trade-offs. It's time to tell the truth on immigration, and over the coming months, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Well, Labour says the ideas aren't new and claims to be fixing the foundations and smashing criminal gang networks.
Well, at 9:30 this morning, and this is why it's all coming to the fore today, the latest migration figures will be released, where an overall fall in net migration is apparently expected.
Well, let's cross live to Westminster and talk to our political correspondent, Catherine Forster. Good to see you this morning, Catherine. And what did you make of this first major speech by Kemi Badenoch of her leadership? Do you think she'll be able to convince people that lessons have been learnt?
Well, the problem with all of this is, of course, that the Conservatives had 14 years to get net migration down. They spent much of it promising to get it down to the tens of thousands, and it ultimately went up to 750,000, though it did go down to 685,000 to the year ending last December. So vastly more than they spent 14 years telling us they were going to get it. I think the timing of this, she's done this because the net migration figures are out at 9:30 this morning. Now, whatever credit the government tries to take for them, because they are expected to fall significantly from that 685,000, frankly, it will be nothing to do with the new government, because the figures that are coming out at 9:30 are for the year to the end of June this year, before they were even in office. So Kemi Badenoch is saying, look, we have to learn the lessons. She said, we will not accept that we can only deliver growth by accepting mass migration. Of course, these migration levels have been so high for about 15 years or so now, but that also coincides with a period of very slow growth, a lot of economic stagnation since the financial crisis. So the supposed benefits of mass migration do seem to be a bit at odds with the state of the economy, though, of course, there's many factors around that. She hasn't ruled out leaving the ECHR, something that Robert Jenrick, who also ran for the leadership, did. She wants to take the time to work out what the correct strategy is. She's talking about a cap, but she's not putting a number on it. The problem, of course, is, as I said, the Conservatives had 14 years to do all of these things. They didn't do it, and now Labour is in charge.
What's interesting, though, what I'm struck by from her clip, her little video, is the fact that she's saying, look, we got it wrong, and we need to look at this and come up with new ideas. But the government said the ideas aren't new, but we don't know what they are yet. They haven't come up with them yet.
No, we don't know what they are, and this was very notable during the leadership campaign. Robert Jenrick was coming out with policies left, right and centre. Kemi Badenoch was talking about first principles, saying, look, we're going to look at this very carefully. We want to take the time. So in some senses, it's quite difficult for the opposition at the moment because they haven't nailed those policies down. Now, you could say it's very sensible to take the time. They want to get it right. So when it comes to the next election, they're very sure of their plans. Of course, it makes it quite difficult for them to challenge the government then if they can't actually say exactly what they would do if they were back in power.
The Times today saying that Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Secretary, we'll actually be talking to him later so we can ask him directly as well, but he says the future Conservative government are going to look at Rwanda-style schemes. I mean, we've been talking about trigger warnings this morning. I think much of the electorate would want a trigger warning over talking about Rwanda all over again. I mean, they quite literally never got off the ground, did they? Labour Party would say that's a gimmick, and by the sounds of the reports in the papers today, they're looking at similar style schemes.
Well, the thing is, no flights went to Rwanda because Rishi Sunak had promised them by the end of July. He then called an election for the beginning of July. He lost it spectacularly and Labour scrapped it immediately. So that's part of the reason why. Of course, there were all sorts of legal challenges. Flights were originally supposed to have taken off about a year prior, and we saw the incredible sight of people, the plane on the tarmac, and people being removed one by one. So we will simply never know whether it will work, whether it would have worked. There is some speculation that one of the reasons that Rishi Sunak called the election is perhaps a worry that the safeguards that they said they'd put in place were not tough enough, and in fact they wouldn't have succeeded in getting these many flights off. But certainly other countries are looking at third country processing. Italy, very keen on that. Other European countries considering it as well. But Rwanda was rather different because the whole point of Rwanda was it was supposed to be a one-way ticket rather than having your claim processed and, if it was successful, potentially coming back.
Can I ask you about the assisted dying bill? Because obviously it's a free vote, but it's hugely controversial. Different people coming out supporting it or against it for their reasons. We've now heard from David Cameron.
Yes, we have a big intervention from former Prime Minister David Cameron, writing in The Times. In 2015, when this was last voted on, he was against it. But he's had a change of heart. Let's have a look, I think. Have we got a clip of him speaking back in 2015 about why he opposed it? Can we have a look at that?
Don't support the assisted dying proposals that have come out of the other place. I don't support euthanasia. I know there are imperfections and problems with the current law, but I think these can be dealt with sensitively and sensibly without having a new law that actually brings in euthanasia. And as she says, I think the problem is the pressure that is then put on frail elderly people to take a decision that actually they might not want to go ahead with.
But he's subsequently had a change of heart, and writing in The Times today, he now says, My main concern has always been the worry that vulnerable people could be pressured into hastening their own death. But he goes on to say, this proposal is not about ending life, it is about shortening death. Now, that's a soundbite, frankly, he's lifted directly from Kim Leadbeater, who has brought forward this private member's bill. But it is significant, this intervention, because he's the first former Prime Minister who has come out in support of changing the law. We had former Labour Prime Minister Gordon Brown last week writing a very moving piece. He, of course, had a baby boy who died shortly after birth. He's come out against it, as have three former Conservative Prime Ministers, Boris Johnson, Theresa May and Liz Truss. We haven't heard from Tony Blair yet, nor John Major, or Rishi Sunak. It'll be interesting to see. But the Times have also done a survey of sort of where we are, because, of course, it's a free vote. And at the moment, they've surveyed 505 MPs. That's about 3/4 of the House of Commons. As things stand, 264 are in favour, 215 are against, and about 26 abstaining. However, there are about 150 that haven't said or haven't made their mind up, so it still could go either way. 5 hours of debate on this tomorrow and then the vote.
OK. Catherine, thank you.
Now, at GB News, we'd love to hear what you think. Here's our poll of the day today. Do you agree with Kemi Badenoch saying, should migrants have their access to benefits limited? Let us know what you think. We'll be bringing you the live results throughout the day, so make sure you stay tuned. The final results, as always, will be announced later in Martin Daubney's show. And if you want to get involved, go to gbnews.com/poll, or you can scan the QR code on your screen right now.
Now, the Department of Work and Pensions are set to release how many pension credit applications they've received.
Yes, wait times to process claims have doubled in a month, likely due to the winter fuel payments being cut. And it's now being means tested.
Well, our Yorkshire and Humber reporter Anna Riley has more.
Old and cold. 100,000 extra pensioners could be poverty-stricken by 2027. That's due to government cuts in their winter fuel payments. It's already impacting people like 75-year-old Susan Worsnop. She can't afford to heat her home and uses this community hub in Leeds as a winter warm space.
I think a lot of people will end up passing a bit cold because obviously the sick, don't they, and they wrap up and don't move about. Give pensioners something, even if it's not whatever it was, £300. Just give them half of that so they can survive.
Only those eligible for pension credit will have government support for fuel bills this winter. With only around 1.5 million older people entitled to the benefit, tens of thousands of pensioners, like Paul Coleman, will be forced to choose between heating and eating.
I'm on medication which actually thins my blood, so I feel the cold even more. But that doesn't seem to come into it. I'm probably just over the limit, but I can't get it now, so we very rarely have the heating on. I sit in a nightgown and a big furry sort of onesie and a fur hat. Shouldn't have to sit like that on an evening in a home.
Kay Haig looks after her elderly mother and they struggle to pay the bills. She feels that the government is out of touch.
The government should do it where they are not allowed their wages, their credit cards, their whatever goodness they've got, and live, get a council house, find a way to start decorating, find a way to start getting beds and sofas and everything we've had to do, and see how they feel when they've spent a good few months living hand to mouth.
The old fire station is a lifeline for the community. The centre provides discounted meals, a food bank and a space to keep warm.
Gipton, Harells, all this area of East Leeds is one of the most deprived areas probably in the country. It gives older people, well, everyone who comes here really, that sense of belonging to something a bit more than just being sat at home, freezing in the cold, coming and just having not just a warm, temperature-wise, but a warm welcome.
Millions of older people will gain an increase of up to £470 in the state pension in April. But to help with energy bills now, the government say many pensioners will benefit from a £150 warm home discount and winter weather payments. But that's cold comfort to those who don't meet the criteria. Anna Riley, GB News.
I can't believe this is where we are in 2020, very nearly 2025. It's shocking.
Yeah, it's just awful. I was reading a story last night saying if you've got neighbours that are elderly, just check on them. Because the number of people that they're concerned they're going to find dead in their beds, which is awful. Trying to keep warm this winter because the only place they can try and stay warm is under their duvet. Just horrific that that's where we are, isn't it? 2024.
Right, it is 6:20. Let's have a look at some of the key stories this morning.
A new way of treating asthma has been described as a game changer. Tests have found that an injection of a new drug significantly reduces symptoms. It's the first major treatment discovery for the condition in over 50 years.
A police investigation has been launched into more than 5 people who may have facilitated former Harrods boss Mohammed Al-Fayed in his alleged sexual abuse of dozens of women and girls. An internal review is being carried out by the Metropolitan Police into how the force handled the claims about Al-Fayed when he was still alive.
A teenager who inspired the Princess of Wales after pursuing a photography bucket list whilst facing a rare form of cancer has died. Liz Hatton died in the early hours of yesterday at her home in Harrogate in North Yorkshire, less than a year after being diagnosed with incurable tumour. Last month, the 17-year-old was pictured hugging the Princess of Wales at Windsor Castle after being invited to take pictures there.
Very sad. However, I will say, I mean, she knew, it's what these young people who know it's coming are sometimes incredibly brave. Stephen Sutton was another one. But the fact that last month she got to spend time with the Prince and Princess of Wales and do what she did is amazing. Yeah. It's fantastic.
She made this bucket list and she wanted to work with some incredible photographers. She worked with Rankin just a few weeks ago, the famous photographer, and one of the shoot models at that photo shoot had said they were some of her favourite pictures of all time, the ones that Liz took that day. So she was clearly talented.
Well...
Just so sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
But she spent those last few weeks doing all of the things she wanted to do, including going to the Royal Ballet. She went on a helipad with the London Air ambulances. She walked the red carpet at the MTV Europe Music Awards. And just last week, she had an exhibition of her work at Getty Images in London.
It's very sad.
So sad, isn't it?
Right, let's see what the weather's going to do for you. Here's Honor.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a cold and frosty start across much of the country with some mist and fog in places too. Generally turning brighter, though we're likely to see some rain push up from the southwest. So a cold and frosty start, possibly seeing some ice in places too, but generally brightening up through the course of the day, though some mist and fog may be stubborn to clear at times. We'll begin to start to see a bit of change from the southwest as we see an influx of cloud and some outbreaks of rain and drizzle, this turning heavy at times, particularly around Northern Ireland. It is bringing in some milder air though, so temperatures around 8 to 10 degrees in the southwest, but elsewhere it is going to be a rather chilly day on offer. It's also going to be turning quite blustery under that cloud and rain, particularly around western coasts. Outbreaks of heavy rain generally pushing their way into western coasts of Scotland, though the far northeast of Scotland largely staying dry. Still feeling chilly though. Outbreaks of rain continuing across Northern Ireland, still fairly blustery here too, particularly around coasts of Northern Ireland, northwest England too. Elsewhere though, it is going to be a largely dry end to the day. Still some rain and drizzle across parts of Devon and Cornwall, and we're likely to see some clear spells as we head into the evening too. 2. So once again, likely to see some mist and fog and some turning quite chilly under those clearer spells too. So likely to see some frost by the time we reach the morning. Different story there across northern parts of Scotland, where that rain's likely to linger through much of the night, and still those blustery winds continuing in the west. Milder in the west too, particularly under those cloudier skies, but chillier in the east, particularly under those clearer skies. Now, as we head through into Friday, once again, another chilly start with some frost and fog in places, brightening up through the course of the day. But then we almost have a rinse and repeat, really, with more cloud and rain sweeping in from the west, this heavy at times. And it continues to stay rather blustery under cloudier skies too, though likely to see some sunshine across central and southeastern areas, but still another chilly day on the cards.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Still to come for you, Ireland goes to the polls tomorrow. We'll be finding out who's in the lead. Is anybody in the lead? We'll get all the details in just a moment.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
My next guest knew George Carman rather intimately. Indeed, he immediately asked her for her hand in marriage when they first met. Karen Phillips knew Carman from 1986 and was a close friend until his death in 2001. Karen has used court transcripts and personal documents to construct her new book, Get Carman. There it is. And here you are. Karen, thank you very much indeed. So you knew him very well, and actually, he began to write a little bit of an autobiography just in the weeks before his death. And from those pages, I was struck by the amount of uncertainty that there was about the man. This man who was so confident in court, who charmed juries so famously, but in some ways felt that he was an actor, in some ways felt that he was fighting back nerves and uncertainties. Is that true?
I think he was quite worried about every case. It was much more that he was concerned for the client. He always wanted to do his best. He worked so hard to win a case, not really for his personal satisfaction, but because he didn't want to let people down.
His success rate was extraordinary, and, you know, I'll choose my words carefully here, but shall we say that many people were surprised at the time that Jeremy Thorpe was found not guilty. It was astonishing in the case of Jonathan Aitken, for example, that the principal charge against him, which was that he'd been corrupt in arms dealings, I don't think that was ever actually reached during the court. It seems even more surprising today that people who were employed by Mohammed Fayed were believed in the case of Neil Hamilton. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, his results are extraordinary.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At 6:28, it's time for our biggest and greatest Great British Giveaway.
I'm not familiar with this one yet. What's up
Are
for
you
grabs?
not?
No, I haven't read it yet.
Are you not?
No.
£50,000
Wow.
in tax-free cash.
That would get you a lot of Christmas presents,
It
wouldn't it?
would. It's the biggest cash prize who's ever given away. It could all be yours. Here's how.
It's our festive treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest ever Great British Giveaway.
Yeah.
Good luck. 50
Indeed.
grand. Very nice.
Lovely, that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, at 6:30, Ireland's general election takes place tomorrow. It's been a very quick campaign. The current Taoiseach, Simon Harris, is, of course, hoping to stay in office.
Yes, but a viral clip of his interaction with a care worker has threatened to ruin his plans, seeing his numbers drop significantly. Take a listen to this.
Yes, we were. And the disability sector is a joke. You've done nothing for us. Our people are suffering. I'm very passionate about my job.
Yeah, I'm very passionate about disability too.
But there's been no mention in the budget whatsoever. You ignore them, you ignore the carers.
That's not true to say that.
Yes, you do. It has not been mentioned. Keep shaking hands, pretend you're a good man. You're not a good man.
Okay, well, if you don't think I'm a good
man. Because you don't care about Shane.
It's not a good look. Anyway, he's apologised. He says he didn't give that lady the time she deserved. Well, she'd agree with that.
Well, what's the current state of play, and could Sinn Féin take victory? Well, joining us live now from Dublin is Irish commentator Malachy Steenson. Good to see you this morning, Malachy. What do you make of that clip, first and foremost, of Simon Harris, who's now apologised to that disability care worker, obviously trying to wrap up that conversation, shake her hand and walk away, but she clearly wasn't happy, was she?
No, and, you know, Simon Harris came into this job when Leo Varadkar walked away from it after a meeting in the US. For some strange reason, he came back and said he was resigning as Taoiseach. Nobody else wanted the job within Fine Gael, which is somewhat incredible because you would assume that all leading members of any political party would want to be Taoiseach. And what we ended up was the TikTok Taoiseach, a man of no intellect, a man of no empathy, a man who doesn't give a damn about what happens in this country or our people. And, you know, the opinion polls tell us that he has dropped. They told us that he was leading the polls, that the current government was set to return. But I'd remind people, the opinion polls also told us in the US that Kamala Harris was going to sail into the White House. They told us in your country that Brexit wasn't going to go through. They told us in this country earlier this year that the two referendums that the government tried to bring in, and the NGO and political class, to remove mothers from the Constitution would sail through and they weren't even worthy of debate. The people in this country gave them their answer. And I've no doubt that tomorrow, in what is the most important election in this country since 1918, will reject the current parties in power and will return and very many nationalist candidates into Dáil Éireann.
So that would effectively be Sinn Féin, would it?
No, Sinn Féin are not nationalists. Don't be under any illusions. Sinn Féin, in opposition, were no opposition. They campaigned and supported every government policy, right from the two referendums that I mentioned. And in fact, Sinn Féin came out after those referendums and said, well, you got it wrong, we're going to do it again, which is par for the course in this country. If the people give an opinion in a referendum and they reject the government's proposals, we've seen this in two recent European referendums, you're just told to go back and do it again. Now, Sinn Féin, in relation to the hate speech laws that they were recently trying to bring in, Sinn Féin wanted harsher hate speech laws to deny people like me having any say or any voice across the media. And anything that we were saying, particularly in relation to immigration, would be deemed fascist and far right, which they tried to do. And the people, you know, and I'm standing in my constituency tomorrow against the leader of Provisional Sinn Féin, Mary Lou McDonald, and I hope to take a seat in Dáil Éireann tomorrow, based mainly on the problems that this country is facing, much the same as your own country. And all of our problems, or the bulk of our problems, particularly in housing and health, stem from the increase in the population from just over 3.5 million to just below 5.5 million in a very short space of time. And this country spends 16.4 million euro per day on housing bypass applicants. And that's, you know, even in this country, we could build a children's hospital every year for that. And the children's hospital here, which will probably never be finished, has gone from less than 100 or a couple of 100 million to 2.5 billion.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, Malachy, that's a story we're all familiar with, isn't it, with those sort of soaring prices. I'm really sorry, we are out of time, but it's been good to talk to you. Thank you very much
for your time.
indeed. That's Malachy Steenson, who's one of the candidates in the election tomorrow.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, we'll be going through the sports with Paul Coit next. Do you think we need a trigger warning for that?
I think we do.
That's next.
latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Armagh on the A3 along Parkview Street, the traffic lights aren't working at the junction with Old Portadown Road. In Worcestershire, the A443 is blocked by flooding each way between Lindridge and Erdiston. The problems in London, the A504 Station Road in Hendon is closed off the A41 Watford Way after an accident, and the A5037 Seven Sisters Road is closed off the A1 Holloway Road in Holloway because of a fire. On the M25 in Essex, the inside lane's closed anti-clockwise, and there's a lorry with a puncture just before junction 29 for the A127 causing delays. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking around a quarter of an hour in westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks, and in Surrey the A331 is closed because of flooding at the Ash junction near Aldershot. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
As soon as Paul Coit walked in the studio, my voice went, it's fear.
I'm not surprised. Listen, I'm just a regular guy. I just want you to take it easy. And
Don't be nervous.
It's OK, it's all going to be fine.
OK, thanks.
I won't give you a hard time today.
Thanks very much, Mr Coit.
What's going on?
I don't know, it's just...
You need a tea. Have you got a tea?
My tea's gone, I've drunk that tea.
Right, OK.
Need another one.
I'll get another one. Should we talk about UEFA?
I've had a brilliant idea.
Oh, go on then.
How about you do the rest of the show in the form of mime?
Oh, yes.
How about that?
Or interpretive dance.
That would be good.
Now that I'd pay to see.
I would pay a lot of money to see that.
Yeah, there you go.
Liverpool 2. That's made your voice even worse now.
It's that age again. I'm going through reverse puberty.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Liverpool 2, Real Madrid 0. Real Madrid 15 times winners of the Champions League. And Liverpool, I think as expected, were excellent and beat them. First time they beat them in that amount of time. 2 missed penalties during the game. The goalkeeper, who is the second goalkeeper for Liverpool, Kevin Kelleher.
Oh, he's my favourite.
Although it's obviously written Keomichian, but that's the Irish way, but it's Kevin Kelleher. I mean, it saved a Kylian Mbappe penalty, which is great for him. I mean, the kid is great. I mean, he's a fantastic goalkeeper. Then there was another penalty at the other end that was missed, so 2 missed penalties, but a great result for Liverpool. So 2-0 against Real Madrid, unbeaten in the Champions League. They've got maximum points, so they're doing excellently. Aston Villa against Juventus. Now, it was a bit dull, and whether
0-0, right?
Yeah, I know, but whether Aston Villa actually deserved it, I don't know. But right at the very end, it was after 90 minutes, Aston Villa, without doubt, should have had a penalty. It was debated. Morgan Rogers should have had this. Basically, it was Diego Carlos jumped up with Di Gregorio, who was the goalkeeper for Juventus, who just brushed him. And it should... And then Morgan Rogers, not the goal in... I'd say should have had a penalty, not the goal in, and then... It was disallowed, so it should have been a goal. I'm mentioning penalties. That's in the other game. But Morgan Rogers knocked it in, and it should have been a goal. I can't see what the problem is. Basically, Unai Emery saying that in England it's different in the Premier League than it is in Europe. Let's hear what he has to say about it. Anyway, there's Unai Emery.
I don't know exactly why, but we knew before. When we are in Premier League, it's different. The interpretation of the referees in all action like that, and in Europe, for example, we are not doing block like in England.
There you go. You okay?
No, very good.
Yeah, that's still not any good. The voice is still bad. But anyway, it's still an OK result, 0-0, but I think they deserve to win. Celtic won, Club Brugge won. Just a spectacular own goal by Cameron Carter-Vickers, which is worth seeing if you want to have a look somewhere, but it is very bizarre. But anyway, it's still an OK result for Celtic. Still there in the Champions League, so that's all good.
Can I just say I'm really happy? Oh, it's back again.
It is back, congratulations.
For Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Yes.
Good on him.
I agree. Looks like, Leicester. He's going to take over at Leicester. Premier League job as a manager. So he was there at Manchester United as interim and ironically beat Leicester twice in his time there. So Leicester are thinking, if you can't beat him, join him. We'll actually get him to join us, and hopefully he'll be good for us. Seeing as Steve Cooper was fired, and also Frank Lampard set to become, we've spoken about this before, set to be the new Coventry manager. So he's been out of the game since he was at Chelsea, 18 months since he had a managerial role. It's almost like an itch that just doesn't get scratched, and they feel as if they, even though it doesn't seem to work out as a manager, got to go back into the game. He's made plenty of money, he's very successful, be a very good pundit, but still got to get back to the game. So we'll see. So he's been sent to Coventry, quite literally.
Very happy news for you.
Oh!
This morning.
Yeah.
Tell us what it is.
Well, do you remember during the Olympics, before the Olympics, all I kept going on about, and I know you got fed up with it.
No,
I know you did.
I loved it.
Yes, you did. But thank you, Ellie. Was the Olympic flame relay.
Yeah.
And all I was talking about was where it is, and we'd say, where is the flame today?
Another 4 years.
And you thought, another 4 years? Well, it's just been announced with one year to go until the flame will then be all over Italy. There we are. Look, I've got another route for you.
Woohoo!
It's going to leave Rome and it's going to head to Milan Cortina. Well, Milan, obviously, and Cortina's down the road, but it's all in northern Italy. In Italy, and that's where it's going to be for the Winter Olympics 2026. The flame relay begins on November the 26th, 2025, and then will end at the San Siro, which is in Milan. There we are. Cortina is nearby. It's a bit all over the place, isn't it? To be honest with you, I don't know who mapped that.
It's going everywhere.
It is. But that's what they do, and everybody can see the Olympic flame, all ready for the Winter Olympics, which I'm very excited about.
Oh, well, thancefully, we'll all have been fired by then, so it's fine. We'll no way we're going to last that long.
Well, maybe your voice will be back in time.
Yeah, it's doing all right, it's doing all right. Can we just finish off with a quick hole-in-one?
Oh, this is great.
Did he manage it?
Yeah, well, this is great. Bryson DeChambeau, one of the world's greatest golfers, and they know how important social media is. So he's been doing this thing where what he was going to attempt to do was hit the ball from the front of his house. Let's have a look at this and I'll talk you through it. There he is. He's trying to land a hole-in-one in his back garden.
Oh, and from the front of the house, over the house,
over the house,
back garden.
Exactly, and try and land a hole-in-one. Now, he's done it every day for over 2 weeks, 16 days. He's done it 133 times. We're going to see every one of the 133 shots now. But anyway, 80 million people have watched this, and eventually, yesterday, after all this time, with the 134th shot, guess what happens?
Well, I guess it went in.
Well, no, he just missed again. And, no, he does. He does. Look, it is coming up. There we are. Just watch this. And look at the windows. Can you imagine?
I was going to say, how many new windows has he had to buy?
If that was me, well, actually, I probably wouldn't even reach the window. Is that in?
Oh!
Yes, it's there. There it is. Look at the excitement. This is one of the great golfers who's been trying this all this time. Every day, I've got to land it in there, and he's got someone at the other side, and he's got the filming, so there we are. 133 misses, finally gets the hole in one. Well, hole in 134, I suppose.
Well, good on him, though.
And
It's good, though,
flying
isn't it?
all of those balls over a glass house.
Over a glass house.
That's incredible.
Well, that's it. What they say about golfers and glass houses. Not hitting balls in with... Anyway.
Makes me nervous
like
watching all of that.
Yes.
I can't believe your voice had gone.
And came back.
And came back again, all in the space of the sport.
It's frankly a miracle.
It is a miracle.
It's the effect you have on him, Coity.
I think so. It's a sporting miracle.
Now that I know you're going, it's it'll go again in a minute. Yeah. James Schneider and Rennie Honderkamp are here to take us through the papers.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This week is Chocolate Week, the ultimate celebration of everything rich, sweet and indulgent.
Yes, and we now have the best person in the studio with us to satisfy all of your chocolate cravings. We're joined now by master chocolatier Ollie the Choc. Ollie,
hello.
Really good to see you this
Thank you
morning.
for having me.
And you brought some of your chocolate in with you.
I did. I brought some tasting samples. You're very welcome to help yourself.
So what have you got here? Tell us.
So this is my signature chocolate. I call it the Holy Grail. It's got sea salt flakes, crushed Oreo, caramel fudge pieces, very Moorish.
I love a caramel and salt combo, just, you know. I feel like you see it everywhere now. Look,
You won't be disappointed.
Look, I want everyone to see a close-up of this one. Can we get a shot on this one? So this is Oreo, there we are, caramel and salt. Do you want to try some?
You go first. Help yourselves. And then this bar of chocolate is a little bit of a wild card. That's a mystery flavour. So
OK, I love a mystery.
I'm not going to tell you what that is.
Hold on this one. This one's amazing.
Are you?
Oreo, caramel.
That's my biggest seller.
I'll keep my palate clean for this. So this is a mystery flavour.
You've got to guess what that is.
Is that a nut in there, I see? Right, here we go. Ready?
Not saying anything.
Talk us through.
Very crunchy.
For me, I'm all about textures in chocolate.
Me too.
It has got a good crunch to it, hasn't it? It's not the kind of flavour that you would expect.
Oh, I can't get it.
Is it sweet? Is it salty?
No, it's salty, yeah.
It's salty.
Hang on, bit more.
OK.
Bit more.
I mean, just keep going.
Crisps? Wait,
It is crispy. It's crunchy. Could it be crisps?
I think it could be crisps. Yeah, it's crisps.
So what flavour?
Salt and vinegar. Cheese and onion.
Yes, nailed it. You know.
Oh, you're much better than me.
Love that.
Do you know what? I think I've got a bit of a cold, so my taste buds are
Oh,
off.
you're going to blame that, are you?
That's my excuse. That's delicious.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Time to go through the papers this morning with the GP, Dr. Rennie Honderkamp, and the author and political organiser, James Schneider. Sounds very officious.
Officious?
Yeah.
What, helping people? Terribly officious.
Political organiser.
Yeah,
Put
helping
them all into shape.
No, helping people come together to fight for their own interests. It seems like quite a good thing. It's not whipping people into shape.
All right, OK.
It's definitely whipping people.
As long as we're not defensive, that's all.
Well, when you are
there
under
we go.
attack, you either have to counter-attack or be defensive. There'll be some counter-attacking, I'm sure, soon. But we've got 3 hours together.
You're never under attack on this show. Renee, let's start with Kemi Badenoch. Britain is not a hotel.
Yeah, well, you would be surprised to think otherwise, wouldn't you? I would. I mean, we've got a situation now where people know that if they come to the UK by whatever means, nefarious means, they're not going home. So it is a hotel because they're going to be put in one. They're going to have heating, which our pensioners don't. They're going to have food, mobile phones, travel cards, and they're going to be treated royally. And she's absolutely right. It's a long time that she's taken to come to this resolution, but she's right. And we need to actually start looking inwards and looking after people at home first before we open our doors and say the hotel is open.
James, what do you make of it?
I think this was an extremely embarrassing speech that Kemi Badenoch gave yesterday for two main reasons. Firstly, it's a huge admission of failure. The last 14 years, most people in the country are worse off. Our public services are slashed, but the wealth of the super-rich completely soared away. And rather than saying, and we have a plan to deal with that, here's everything that we got wrong and here's what we're going to do, there's no plan, there's a soundbite. There's a soundbite about this idea of hotels, not homes. The reason why so many people are in hotels is because they cut the people to process the asylum claims. What used to happen in 2013, by 2013, 2014, 98% of asylum applications were processed in 6 months. So that means in 6 months, you either know that people need help and support and they get the help and support, or they leave. By the end of the Tory government, it was almost 0% were being processed in 6 months. So she's identified a good soundbite. It splashes the front of the Mail, not very difficult if you're the leader of the Conservative Party. But really, she's just pointing to their own failure.
Yes, but isn't that a positive thing in that you don't get anywhere unless you say, we got it wrong and we got it very wrong? She's trying to reinvent the party, isn't she? And hopefully spending some time to come up with answers that will work.
So far, there don't seem to be any even direction of answers that work. She said they're going to have a review of some things.
They've got a few years to work on it.
Sure, fine. But there's no... I see absolutely nothing in what she said which points to how they would have governed differently, that didn't leave most people in the country worse off after 14 years than they were when they came in.
Yeah, but
let's
face it. Look, it sounds really lovely what you've said. Oh, look, if we had just processed people, you know, they wouldn't be in hotels. But the truth of it is they would be in society, because we know that in the UK, 90% of people, because of their continuous claims, even if they get rejected, will eventually stay in the UK. That's an extra 10 million people that we've now got who are in society who...
10 million people?
Yes, over the last 10 years, we've got an extra more or less...
refugees?
So they're not refugees. They're economic migrants.
We accept, on average, in usual years, in the region of 50,000 refugees a year.
OK, so over 20 years.
How are you getting to 10 million over 10 years?
Well, if we look at our population growth over the last 10 years...
It does not come from refugees. As I'd say, if refugees make over 10 years...
We're talking migration.
We're talking migration, net migration.
Well,
but
if you're talking about letting people in and hotels, we're speaking about asylum
James, I let you
seekers
speak.
and refugees.
I let you speak, so now I'm going to speak, please. So we've now got all of these people. We know that the UK actually accepts almost double most countries in Europe of our asylum seekers because our asylum processing is broken. So there's no point saying, oh, well, if we process them, they would actually not be in hotels. No, they would be in society. And there's been a recent report that we know most of these people do not add to our society. They cost us. By the time they're 65, £250,000. People are crumbling here. Our infrastructure is crumbling. People don't want this massive growth. They actually want to stop it, and they want to see the money ploughed back into public services first. Charity begins at home, and that's not what we're doing at the moment.
We've got a minute left, James. I wanted to touch on the issue of integration, which Badenoch outlined in her speech yesterday, saying that too many people are coming to the UK in a short space of time. When there's no integration, the ties that bind us start to fray. What do you make of this?
Yeah, so I think there are things that can help with integration, but generally speaking, if you live in an area that has reasonably high and diverse levels of migration, integration is what happens. Integration is a process that happens over time. My great-grandparents came here as refugees and, of course, integrated in. That's a normal thing that happens when people come into a country. They become part of the country, and the fabric of the country changes over time, and that is what is happening.
Do you think the areas in London where there's only Urdu on the street signs and on the school signs are integrated?
There aren't areas that... if you're...
All right, well, sadly, we are out of time.
But that just factually isn't true.
There you go. Here's the weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers. Sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a cold and frosty start across much of the country with some mist and fog in places too. Generally turning brighter, though we're likely to see some rain push up from the southwest. So a cold and frosty start, possibly seeing some ice in places too, but generally brightening up through the course of the day, though some mist and fog may be stubborn to clear at times. We'll begin to start to see a bit of change from the southwest as we see an influx of cloud and some outbreaks of rain and drizzle. This turning heavy at times, particularly around Northern Ireland. It is bringing in some milder air though, so temperatures around 8 to 10 degrees in the southwest, but elsewhere it is going to be a rather chilly day on offer. It's also going to be turning quite blustery under that cloud and rain, particularly around western coasts. Outbreaks of heavy rain generally pushing their way into western coasts of Scotland, though the far northeast of Scotland largely staying dry. Still feeling chilly though. Outbreaks of rain continuing across Northern Ireland, still fairly blustery here too, particularly around coasts of Northern Ireland, northwest England too. Elsewhere though, it is going to be a largely dry end to the day. Still some rain and drizzle across parts of Devon and Cornwall, and we're likely to see some clear spells as we head into the evening too. So once again, likely to see some mist and fog and some turning quite chilly under those clearer spells too. So likely to see some frost by the time we reach the morning. Different story there across northern parts of Scotland, where that rain's likely to linger through much of the night, and still those blustery winds continuing in the west. Milder in the west too, particularly under those cloudier skies, but chillier in the east, particularly under those clearer skies. Now, as we head through into Friday, once again, another chilly start with some frost and fog in places, brightening up through the course of the day. But then we almost have a rinse and repeat, really, with more cloud and rain sweeping in from the west, this heavy at times. And it continues to stay rather blustery under cloudier skies too. They're likely to see some sunshine across central and southeastern areas, but still another chilly day on the cards.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Aberdeenshire, the A90 is closed in both directions off the A952 at Rathen after an accident. On Merseyside, the A567 is closed each way along Stanley Road off the A566 Knowsley Road in Bootle for an investigation. On the M6 in Staffordshire, 3 lanes are closed northbound where a vehicle caught fire between junctions 14 and 15 from Stafford North to Stoke-on-Trent, causing delays. In Worcestershire, the A443 is blocked by flooding between Lindridge and Erdiston. In London, the A503 Seven Sisters Road is closed off the A1 Holloway Road because of a fire. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking nearly half an hour in queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks. And in Surrey, the A331 Blackwater Valley route is closed at the Ash Junction in Aldershot because of flooding.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
It's our festive treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest ever Great British giveaway. Good luck.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Tory leader Kemi Badenoch admits her party got it wrong on immigration.
As the Home Office prepares to release official migration numbers in just a matter of hours.
I want to rebuild the trust between the Conservative Party and the British people. I know we've got a lot of work to do, but the first step is to accept that mistakes were made.
Will another rise in migration force Labour to get tougher on border security?
Developments in the Mohammed Al Fayed case as the Metropolitan Police confirm they're now looking at associates of the disgraced businessman who may have assisted in his crimes.
Just a day before MPs vote on the assisted dying bill, the former Prime Minister Lord Cameron does a U-turn and endorses the controversial legislation.
Sixth form teachers walk out once again as they demand an above-inflation pay rise. That's despite the government already caving to a 5% increase.
As the cold sets in and the loss of winter fuel allowance is felt by pensioners everywhere, we're talking to a community in Leeds going above and beyond to help the elderly this winter.
Almost 2 whole weeks into I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and the campmates are finding all sorts of ways to entertain themselves. Don't miss our insider chat with a jungle veteran.
And in the sport this morning, the Champions League, Liverpool beat Real Madrid with draws for Aston Villa and Celtic. In cricket, England currently playing their last Test match of the year against New Zealand. And we look into the murky and scary world of free diving.
Hello there, good morning. It's a cold and frosty start for many of us with some fog in places which could be quite slow to clear. I'll be here with all the details.
Just gone 7 o'clock, I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Free diving, Paul.
Yeah.
What? Before you tell us about it later on, what is it?
It's where you just dive as deep as you possibly can.
Oh, no, you couldn't pay me.
On one breath.
Nope.
Terrifying.
Oh, right.
I mean, we'll show it. So a new world record's been set, but they hold their breath, dive down, hold this rope, go, and it's dark, you can't see anything, and the problem is holding your breath so long. Yeah, people have died doing this. Going back up because they don't come up.
What would compel you?
I have no idea. Honestly, I can't think of anything more scary.
Yeah, it's scary.
It really is scary.
No.
But a little exciting.
No.
No, don't fancy it?
Don't get that at all.
OK, fine.
Do you get this one? This has caught my eye this morning. The front page of the Telegraph. Wine is off the dinner party menu. Apparently, it's not proper etiquette to take a bottle of wine to somebody's house if they're making you dinner.
Really?
Apparently, because it only lasts for the meal or for the evening.
You meant to give them a long...
You're exactly right. You need to be taking a gift that will last longer than the evening, something they can have in their house. Something
That's
like...
nonsense, isn't it?
Something like a bottle of olive oil, which these days set me back.
Oh, thanks for dinner. There's a little bottle of... Here's a tomato ketchup.
I'd love a bottle of olive oil. I think it's genius.
You wouldn't, would you?
I would. A nice bottle of olive oil. They're about 20 quid these days.
Yeah, but it's not about price. It's the thought that counts,
No, but it would last longer than the night. I think they might be onto something with this.
Really?
Yeah. This is the Waitrose Food and Drink Report saying you should take olive oil or honey or vinegar or premium salt.
And they're all available at our stores from Wednesday.
Vinegar?
Yep, vinegar.
You turn up at someone's house with a bottle of vinegar.
One of those little things with a little thing comes off.
Sarsons.
Yes, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's absolutely crazy.
Anyway, let us know what you think about that one. Would you rather bring a bottle of olive oil to someone's house than a bottle of wine?
Where does it go, though, when it comes to... If you bring wine along, though, and they don't drink the wine...
You're not meant to.
Can you take it home with you?
Take it home.
OK,
Take it home. All right, Paul.
Keep the vinegar.
Thank you. Right, there's lots going on in the world of politics this morning. Lots on immigration, which Kemi Badenoch has been talking about, and her failings. Let's talk to the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp, who joins us live from Westminster. Good to see you this morning. I mean, Kemi Badenoch talking about what went wrong, saying it's important to admit just what went wrong. So what did go wrong? What were the mistakes made by the Conservatives in government when it comes to legal and illegal migration?
Good morning. Well, the speech that Kemi and I gave yesterday truthfully acknowledged that over the last 2 or 3 decades, including under Conservative governments, immigration has been far too high. In the last 14 years, over 3 million. That's more than the population of Wales, 8 times the population of Liverpool. And we started by just openly acknowledging that mistakes have been made in this area by successive governments. And that honest starting point, I think, is important. We then started to talk about some of the principles we'd like to use underpinning our approach, a new approach in the future, one of which is moving away from mass, low-wage, low-skilled immigration, which industry has become a bit addicted to, and instead focus on much more smaller numbers and very limited numbers of high-skilled, high-wage migration with a hard, binding cap. That's an example of the different approach we're going to be taking.
You're talking about your failings, you're talking about this new approach, but in that speech yesterday, you said a future Conservative government would look at Rwanda-style schemes, which would see people who come to Britain illegally being deported. Well, if you're talking about failings, why would you chase a scheme that never got off the ground and was dubbed a gimmick?
Well, to be clear, the Rwanda scheme never actually started. The first flight was due to take off at the end of July, but the Labour government wrongly cancelled it before it even started. And as a result of that, small boat crossings since the election have gone up by 23% compared to last year, and they're reopening hotels for illegal immigrants. So that Rwanda scheme was never actually tried. We now see other countries like Italy pursuing similar schemes. They're not quite the same, but they're similar in principle. And even Ursula von der Leyen, the head of the European Commission, has written to European Union member states suggesting that they look at offshore processing. Again, it's not quite the same as Rwanda, but it's very similar in concept. So that scheme was never tried. And by the way, it all started. And common sense says that if people arrive here illegally and they know they are going to be sent somewhere else, like Rwanda or anywhere else, doesn't really matter, then they're going to stop coming. Common sense tells you that, and that is why we need a deterrent like Rwanda. And the National Crime Agency have said that as well. The National Crime Agency have said that law enforcement alone won't work. You need a deterrent, and that's why it's wrong that the Labour government cancelled the Rwanda scheme before it even started.
Looking at some of the figures that you've been working with, 15%, 1 in 7 of non-EU visas in the last 5 years were issued primarily for work purposes. So 6 in 7 weren't. Why on earth? I mean, it begs the question: why on earth were they granted, and why would we then trust a party that did grant these sort of visas?
Yeah. Well, that's right. Those numbers are far too high. Not enough people were coming here to work, and it gets actually worse than that, because even those who were coming to work, about half of them were earning barely more than the minimum wage. And we openly acknowledged yesterday that was wrong. That was a mistake. The government got that wrong. Successive governments got it wrong, including the last one. And I think just an open and honest acknowledgement of those mistakes has to be the starting point to earn back trust. But that is only the first step. What we're going to do in the coming months, and frankly years, because the next election is quite a long way away, is develop detailed, specific, credible plans for how we're going to fix this if we get back into government. Because I think it will take not just an open and honest acknowledgement of the mistakes and the principles that I just mentioned, like a hard binding cap and much lower numbers and a pivot to high-wage, high-skill migration, the public are going to want to see details, they're going to want to see specifics, and we're going to develop and publish those in the coming months so we can win back trust. And I accept your point that we've got a job to do there, but yesterday was the first step in that process. And what is clear is that the Labour government are doing a terrible job, and we've got to therefore beat them at the next election before they put our taxes up anymore, ruin our economy anymore, or continue to fail to deal with illegal migration, which has gone up, as I say, 23% since the election.
Kemi Badenoch pledged yesterday to introduce a strict numerical cap on net migration. What number will that be set at?
Well, we're going to work that detail through in the coming months. We're not going to shoot from the hip, but it will be a lot lower than the current numbers, and it will be a lot lower than the OBR forecast, which was about 350,000 a year. It is worth saying that we're going to get some new immigration numbers in about 2 hours' time, and it's likely those will go down because of some of the tightening up the Conservatives did towards the end of their time in office in the last 18 months. So we are expecting those numbers to come down thanks to steps taken by the last Conservative government, but they're not going to come down, it's likely, far enough. They need to come down a lot more.
How much will you be watching what President Trump does when he gets back into office? Because obviously a lot of his campaigning was based on getting rid of stopping illegal migration into the United States, removing those people who were there illegally. Now, I'm not saying you necessarily agree with Trump on everything he puts forward and says, but if he gets it to work, will that influence you?
We're going to look at what other countries around the world are doing, including the USA. I've mentioned already that Italy has developed an offshoring migration agreement with Albania, although it's got legal challenges. We're learning from what Australia did about 10 years ago. Australia had a boat problem about 10 years ago, and they fixed it using Operation Sovereign Borders. Right? They took tough measures, which included offshore processing, and that worked. They stopped the boats. And if the new administration in America is able to find policies that work to fix their illegal immigration problem, then we will definitely look to learn from successes elsewhere around the world, including America.
Can I ask you about the assisted dying bill? The vote is going to be tomorrow. We've been talking about Lord David Cameron, who's U-turned on his stance. He's now in support of it. How will you be voting tomorrow?
Yeah, well, I've weighed it up very carefully, and I believe in the sanctity of life. I wouldn't want to engage in assisted dying myself. I wouldn't want my family to. I wouldn't encourage anyone else to either. But I also believe in personal choice, and I believe in liberty. And I would not want to use the force of legislation to prevent somebody else making their own choice according to their own conscience. So I've got to balance up those two competing considerations, and I think on balance I will vote in favour of giving individuals their own choice, respecting their liberty to make their decision according to their own conscience. Personally, I would not want to do assisted dying or suicide myself, but I don't want to stop other people exercising their own choice, because I do believe in liberty, I believe in personal responsibility and personal choice, but in these circumstances, of course, with very strict safeguards, including, any kind of any kind of coercion, of course, will be illegal. There'll be two independent doctors. A judge has to sign it off. Very strict safeguards. But I do ultimately believe in choice and freedom.
Lord Cameron's talked about previous legislation being discussed being the opportunity for someone to end their life, and phrasing this as the opportunity for someone to have a shorter death. Does that within that framework, have enough caveats, enough safeguards to make sure that people will not be coerced?
Well, I've looked at the bill that Kim Ledbetter has tabled, and it does have some pretty strong safeguards, and I've mentioned a couple of them a minute ago, like you've got to have two independent doctors, a judge has to sign it off, any coercion will be a criminal offence, the person has to be in the last 6 months of their life, and so on. So it's very narrowly drawn, and that's right, because it is a very serious matter, and you want this to apply only in those restricted circumstances. But for me, it does just come back down to that point about personal liberty, and I do believe in personal liberty and personal choice, and that people should be able to make their own decisions about their own lives in these circumstances. Now, my own sort of respect for the sanctity of life means that I personally would never want to do this, but other individuals might take a different view, and I think because I respect personal choice and personal freedom, I don't want to deny people their liberty to make their own choices.
Okay. As always, it's very good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Well, let's get some analysis now from our political correspondent, Catherine Forster. Good to see you this morning, Catherine. And what did you make there of what Chris Philp had to say?
Well, it's all very well saying that there will be a cap, saying that they will look at the ECHR. The trouble is, of course, they had 14 years. They made promise after promise of getting net migration down, and it went up ultimately to 750,000. So I'm not sure how much the public are listening to what the Conservatives have to say on this at the moment, and even if they are listening, frankly, how much they believe them. Now, they do have a few years, of course, before the next general election to come up with concrete policy ideas. At the moment, the new leader, Kemi Badenoch, is very much wanting to take the time to work these things out. So we don't have very much in the way of detail. I think where she is right is one of the things that she said: we will not accept that we can only deliver growth by accepting mass migration, and also saying that this is a failure of successive governments, 14 years of the Conservatives. But before that, of course, Tony Blair, when the European Union expanded eastwards, he could have used restrictions which other European countries did to limit the numbers coming in initially. He didn't feel any need for that. So there's plenty of blame to go around. The new net migration figures out at 9:30 this morning.
Catherine, thanks very much indeed. Well, our poll of the day today, we're asking if you agree with Kemi Badenoch and should migrants have access to benefits limited, one of the things she's come out with. We'll bring you the results live throughout the day and the final results in Martin's show later. If you want to get involved, scan the QR code on your screen if you're watching on the TV. If you're on the radio, go to gbnews.com/poll.
Now at 16 minutes past 7, let's take a look at some other stories coming into the newsroom this morning.
The police investigation's been launched into more than 5 people who may have facilitated former Harrods boss Mohammed Al-Fayed in his alleged sexual abuse of dozens of women. An internal review is also being carried out by the Met Police into how the force handled the claims about Al-Fayed when he was still alive.
A new way of treating asthma has been described as a game changer. Tests have found that an injection of a new drug significantly reduces symptoms. It's the first major treatment discovery for the condition in over 50 years.
The teenager who inspired the Princess of Wales after pursuing a photography bucket list while facing a rare form of cancer has passed away. Liz Hatton died yesterday at her home in Harrogate, less than a year after being diagnosed. Last month, she was pictured hugging the Princess of Wales at Windsor Castle after she'd been invited to take pictures there.
Now let's have a look at the weather with Honor.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a cold and frosty start across much of the country with some mist and fog in places too. Generally turning brighter, though we're likely to see some rain push up from the southwest. So a cold and frosty start, possibly seeing some ice in places too, but generally brightening up through the course of the day, though some mist and fog may be stubborn to clear at times. We'll begin to start to see a bit of change from the southwest as we see an influx of cloud and some outbreaks of rain and drizzle, this turning heavy at times, particularly around Northern Ireland. It is bringing in some milder air though, so temperatures around 8 to 10 degrees in the southwest, but elsewhere it is going to be a rather chilly day on offer. It's also going to be turning quite blustery under that cloud and rain, particularly around western coasts. Outbreaks of heavy rain generally pushing their way into western coasts of Scotland, though the far northeast of Scotland largely staying dry. Still feeling chilly though. Outbreaks of rain continuing across Northern Ireland, still fairly blustery here too, particularly around coasts of Northern Ireland, northwest England too. Elsewhere though, it is going to be a largely dry end to the day. Still some rain and drizzle across parts of Devon and Cornwall, and we're likely to see some clear spells as we head into the evening too. So once again, likely to see some mist and fog and some turning quite chilly under those clearer spells too. So likely to see some frost by the time we reach the morning. Different story there across northern parts of Scotland, where that rain's likely to linger through much of the night, and still those blustery winds continuing in the west. Milder in the west too, particularly under those cloudier skies, but chillier in the east, particularly under those clearer skies. Now, as we head through into Friday, once again, another chilly start with some frost and fog in places, brightening up through the course of the day. But then we almost have a rinse and repeat, really, with more cloud and rain sweeping in from the west, this heavy at times. And it continues to stay rather blustery under cloudier skies too. They're likely to see some sunshine across central and southeastern areas, but still another chilly day on the cards.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's time now for our biggest and greatest Great British giveaway of this year. Your chance to win £50,000 in tax-free cash. Actually, the biggest cash prize that we've ever given away. And yes, it could all be yours. Here's all the details that you need.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh.
Best of luck to you.
Good luck.
Now, still to come for you, sixth form teachers are striking over pay. Are they asking for too much? We'll debate that next.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're
Proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and he did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
7:24. Now, sixth form teachers are starting a strike today as part of, guess what, a dispute over pay.
Yes, 32 sixth form colleges are arguing that they too should get a pay rise after primary and secondary teachers secured a 5% increase.
But the teachers asking for too much. Can the government fund everybody's pay demands?
Well, we're joined now by former head teacher and chair for the Campaign for Real Education, Chris McGovern, and political commentator Emma Wolfe to debate this. Very good morning to you both. Let's start with you, Chris. Are teachers asking for too much here?
I think in this particular case, the limited number of teachers who are going on strike are asking for fair treatment. Now, I think they have a case for fair treatment. But as a teacher who myself went on strike once, I regretted that for the rest of my career. I don't think they should be going on strike. But I do think these minority of teachers, about 2,000, deserve fair treatment. So there's right and wrong on both sides here.
Emma, what's your take on this?
Well, let me ask you a really, really simple question. When teachers go on strike, who suffers? Who pays the price for that? It's young people. Young people are the ones they're the cohort who've suffered unimaginably over the past few years from the lockdowns. Educationally, they've suffered from school closures. Socially, emotionally, they've suffered through their own development. And I would completely agree with Chris that, of course, teachers and good teachers are worth their weight in gold. And good teachers are worth a decent salary, absolutely. And they are more than entitled to negotiate that. But I don't think children and young people at these colleges, I don't think young people should be drawn into this game. I don't think they should be pawns in the negotiation process. And I think once again, young people are going to suffer.
Chris, what do you make about that? It's not fair to the children, is it?
No, it's not fair to the children, which is why we shouldn't go on strike. But I think here we have a situation of government incompetence. Because what's happened is that the government allocated £300 million to further education, and what the union demand is that 15 million of that goes to these teachers in sixth form colleges. Most teachers in sixth form colleges aren't going on strike because they're going to get the pay rise. And I've taught for 35 years, you talk to children, they believe in fair play. So I think what we've got here is a classic example of government incompetence, because you can't leave a small number of teachers outside the pay agreement. Not surprisingly, therefore, those teachers feel very unhappy about all of that. So whilst I deplore the strike action, I do support teachers over this small number of teachers over their right to fairness. It's blindingly obvious. You can't leave out 2,000 teachers because of some administrative blunder. I think it will be sorted out. It just shows that the government are pretty incompetent on this.
I mean, that's a fair point. That's a fair point, Emma, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, we don't like the idea of them striking. It does damage children, yes, and we all acknowledge that. But from a professional point of view, if you're one of the teachers who, for some unknown reason, isn't getting the pay rise that everybody else is getting, then what do you do?
No, I get that. And as a professional, as a teacher, you would feel that. But I think it's worse than the government's incompetence at this stage, Stephen. I think it goes further back. I think this is the story of the last 5 months in which the Labour government have repeatedly caved in to public sector demands for above and sometimes really quite highly above inflation pay increases. It started with train drivers, went on to junior doctors, nurses. This is going to be the story of the Labour government. Of course they will have to cave in. But actually, the rest of the country is in hardship at the moment. People are not demanding 5-6% pay increases in the private sector because we can't. So actually, it makes sense that these college teachers want, way over 5%. Was actually not what normal people are living on.
I mean, Chris, can the government actually afford to fund everyone's pay demands?
No, they can't. What I would say is that, contrary to what the unions are saying, we spend more money on education than most countries around the world. In fact, since the Second World War, the amount of money spent on education in our country, in real terms, has increased by 900%, which is staggering. Those aren't my made-up figures. They're from the Institute of Fiscal Studies. No one ever mentions that. They say the last few years, it has gone down in real terms in the last few years, but in the last 70 years, it's gone up a great deal. No, the government can't afford to go on in the way it's going on. They need to understand that the majority of staff in schools are not actually teachers, which again is amazing. Who is it that is in our schools then? Well, lots of them are support staff, administrative staff. We need to cut back on the support staff and the administrative staff, and then we have to free up the budget so there's money for teachers. We need to pay good teachers a good salary. So I support the right to a good salary, but within the existing budget. There's plenty of money in the budget, just as in the National Health Service. We don't pay enough to the frontline workers. We pay too much to the bean counters and the administrators. Put the money to the people who are doing the job, because at the end of the day, children in schools benefit most when they have talented teachers. We have to recruit, maintain and motivate these teachers. And we're not going to be doing that if we're having rows all the time. So, look, there's money in the system. It's how we spend it. Ask the question, why is it that in the UK, education is so expensive? Why is it so expensive? Vietnam spends about 10% of what we spend and achieves a higher standard. Why is that?
Yeah, there's too much. I mean, there's too much fat in the system, isn't there, Emma? But we could say that about a lot of things, and it's very unlikely to change over the next few years.
I would agree with Chris wholeheartedly on that. And, he draws a parallel with the NHS. I have a 4-year-old who is my first experience of the primary school state system. And it's depressing to see the amount of stuff that isn't, resources going into schools, but the amount of money that's going in that isn't actually reaching teachers or children. It isn't actually about education. So I think if we can make teaching an attractive profession, then you attract the brightest graduates. We need bright academic graduates going into teaching at primary and secondary and further education level to really, really get our schools up to scratch. The money is there, the money is going in. But in terms of withdrawing labour, of course, everybody has the right to withdraw their labour. But I think this is the wrong way to go about it. If college teachers could be adults about this, they would see that young people should not be pawns, they should not be weaponised and drawn into this strike action, because it's simply not fair on the young people.
OK, Emma Wolfe and Chris McGovern, thank you so much for your time, both of you, this morning. Let us know what you think at home, gbnews.com/yoursay.
There always was a no-strike union called the Professional Association of Teachers, PAT. Whether they're still going, and I don't know. When I was in secondary school and the NUT was striking left, right and centre, if you remember PAT, they didn't go, they stayed. Whether they still exist or not, I don't know. But people of principle in PAT. Anyway.
Do stay with us. Still to come, Paul Coit will be here with all your sport. That's next.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Aberdeenshire, the A90 is closed at Rathen after an accident. On Merseyside, the A567 is closed along Stanley Road off the A566 Knowsley Road in Bootle for an investigation. There are delays of up to an hour with some cancelled Irish ferry sailings between Holyhead and Dublin for operational reasons. On the M6 in Staffordshire, 2 lanes are closed northbound where a vehicle caught fire between junctions 14 and 15 from Stafford North to Stoke-on-Trent, causing long delays. And also in Staffordshire, the A38 is partly blocked northbound by an accident at Barton-under-Needwood. In Worcestershire, the A443 is blocked by flooding between Lindridge and Erdiston. In London, Seven Sisters Road is closed off the A1 Holloway Road because of a fire. And in Surrey, the A331 is closed each way along the Blackwater Valley route at the Ash Junction in Aldershot because of flooding. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion, Mark Meets, and My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Nightmare commute? Kick it up a gear with GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+, and on the GB News app. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player apps. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with GB News Radio. We are the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 7:35. It's sports time. Paul Coit is here with us.
Hurrah.
Morning.
That's going to be my catchphrase, by the way. The way we start the sport at hurrah.
Hurrah.
Should we start with the Champions League? Quick word about that. Liverpool 2, Real Madrid 0. 15-time winners, Real Madrid and Liverpool dominated. They are very good at the moment.
They are.
Arne Slot, who came in, the new manager, and taken over from Klopp to Slot, and things are looking... And literally...
I've been working on that one outside.
Well, I have, did it work for you?
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah. Actually, it's been months I've been working on that one. Shall we hear from Arne? Let's hear what Arne Slot had to say about the victory yesterday.
I liked a lot what I saw. Of course, not everything. I think we controlled the first half with creating a few chances, but I also thought we were still a bit sloppy, so we lost the ball in a very easy situation, or we forced it a bit too much. And I said, try to be even more patient. Let the gaps open up instead of forcing them. And then it helps if the first 7 minutes after half-time, I think we had total dominance. They even didn't came across our halfway line. And if you then score a goal like this, then we were flying, if you want to put it like this.
I like him. I like him very much.
He's very good.
Can I just say, I think I can hear a Scouse twang.
You think so? After just a month or two?
Yeah.
Because you've got the Dutch thing. There's a bit of that on in there as well.
Couldn't you hear that?
Oh, imagine that happened to... Was it Steve McLaren?
Well, Steve McLaren did it the reverse.
The other way around when he went...
Because he went to FC Twente and then was going to Champions League. And the other one was Jan Molby, who played for Liverpool, was Danish, went to Liverpool. Hear him now. It doesn't sound like that. It's not like that.
Really?
It's like, really strong Liverpool accent.
Brilliant.
So maybe that's what's happening to Arne Slot. But anyway, 2 missed penalties. Kevin Kelleher, who was in goal. For Alisson, who's covering for him, he was really good yesterday, mate. And he's got something that you can put on your CV, the fact you've saved a Kylian Mbappe penalty.
Yes.
Mbappe wasn't that great, but Kelleher was great. So anyway, Aston Villa drew 0-0 with Juventus, had a goal disallowed at the end, which I think was really unfair. Foul on the goalkeeper. It was ridiculous. It was just a brush. It was hardly anything. So they did... So it was 0-0. It's an OK result for them, but it's a shame they didn't win it. Celtic won. Club Bruges won. Own goal. Cameron Carter-Vickers. Daisa Maeda scored a very good goal. So 1-1 the result in that one.
OK. What's going on with the cricket? England, New Zealand?
New Zealand, just a little bit. It's opening day. First day of a test, always a bit slow. It's at the Hagley over in Chelsea. It's in Christchurch. It's not Chelsea at all. New Zealand, 319 for 8. I don't even know where Chelsea came from.
I don't know.
In that. Is it the CH?
Doesn't matter, possibly.
I have no idea. Christchurch. But anyway, I'll tell you another thing with cricket.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
The youngest player signed by the IPL, which is the Indian Premier League, which is where the big money is, and a lot of players will, all around the world, will want to play in this because it's a T20 tournament. It's the biggest one in the world. And anyway, his name's Vaibhav Suryavanshi. I think we can see him now. The youngest player, it's not one of the little ones down on the right-hand side. It's the one in the middle. This is on his birthday. So he signed for the Rajasthan Royals for 11 million rupees, which I worked out as £104,000.
Oh, it sounds a lot more impressive.
He's played 11 million rupees. He's played under 19 for India, 58 ball ton. He's hit in a test. He's hit a triple century. How old do you think he is?
Looking at that...
18.
I'd say 15.
13.
Oh.
13 years old.
Good on him.
13. Hit a triple century. And now playing in the IPL.
Good for him.
The kid has quite a future. He really does.
A lot of money on the way.
It's just the start.
Finally, you want to do the diving or you want to do the birthdays?
I want to do diving.
Birthdays.
No, we've got to tease.
How about diving birthdays?
Tease the diving.
Oh, sorry, we've got to do the diving.
We've got to do
Can we
the
do
diving.
birthdays next time?
We'll do birthdays next time. Ukrainian free driver.
Free driver.
It's all going very well
Now
this
that
morning.
would be good to
You know
watch.
what? Tonight, I'm going to Spurs, and the chances are I won't get home till 12:30. I'll be getting up at 3. So if you think this is bad, you wait for tomorrow.
Wait for
That's all I
tomorrow.
can say.
Definitely got to tune in tomorrow.
Right, Katerina Sadurska.
Oh, yes.
She broke her own world record for free diving. Now, look at this. Now, this is free to scare the life out of you,
No, I don't
Ellie.
like that at all.
Look at that. Just, you watch it.
So she's diving, so she's following a rope under the sea.
Yes,
And it's just
keeps going.
as far as you can go whilst holding your breath.
Keeps going. Now, they're all the safety divers around the bottom there to make sure she's OK.
Right.
It took 3 minutes and 10 seconds to go 82 metres, 269 feet.
Does she get the bends with that?
Well, this is what I was going to mention.
Now, that is a fantastic point.
That's why they have to go very slowly to go back up again, because if you go too fast, then you get the bends, which obviously... Well, how would you describe the bends?
It's nitrogen bubbles...
In your brain.
In your brain, yeah.
Yeah, and it can kill you. It can kill you.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time, they go up too fast or they're out of breath and they lose consciousnness before they even reach the surface. Now, there's this amazing documentary. It's really moving, and it's called The Deepest Breath, which is on Netflix. And I just happened to watch it, and it was just enthralling. And I won't give away what happens, but there's some bad stuff that happens in this thing. And they have to take their time. They dive down and they'll come back up, and they need the safety divers. But often you see them reach the surface and they're unconscious, and you see the eyes rolling. It's seriously, it's terrifying.
So how long was she down there?
She was down there, so I guess 3 minutes it takes to get down there, and I don't know whether you double it or maybe add a little bit longer. So they hold breath for like 6-7 minutes at a time.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
So it is no fin. I mean, so it's in Dominica, and see, that person's got fins, but this world record is for no fins, because obviously you can go further and you can go faster. And they just look at that. And there she is, just coming out the world record.
Coming out smiling.
So casually, like she's just gone for a quick dip.
I just don't get it.
No, I
really don't get it. It's terrifying, it's scary, it could kill you.
Dangerous.
But still, they continue to do that and just see and get deeper and deeper. But 82 metres diving down, no aqualung, all on one breath.
That's really quite impressive.
I had trouble with the 12 feet in Harold Hill swimming baths when we used to have to dive down and get the brick in pyjamas. Did you ever do that?
No, I wasn't very good in the pool.
Oh, yeah, I did that once. Yeah, I had to get the brick in the pyjamas.
In the pyjamas, yeah.
Yeah. And now I don't even like to get my hair wet.
No.
Have you not got one of those hats with the flowers on?
Oh, no.
But the thing is, what I never worked out, although it was you're learning stuff, who would actually have to want to dive down in water to pick up a brick in pyjamas anyway?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I feel like at the time it felt like a very important thing to know.
It did, didn't it? Yes, yes.
I couldn't do it because I've got to hold my nose underwater. I can't do that.
Why?
We have one of those clips.
What's your problem?
I can't breathe out through my nose whilst underwater. It all goes up my nose. I
don't think I'm meant to breathe underwater.
You're meant to
hold
breathe
your-
out,
I
aren't
just
you?
hold my breath. You know,
Yeah, hold your breath. Don't breathe.
Don't breathe. Never
But it
breathe.
still goes up your nose a bit.
No, it doesn't. No.
Oh, well, I'll have to try it. Don't like it. Don't like it. Right, we're out of time, Paul.
Okay.
Anyway, that was fun. Thank you.
It was weird, but it was fun.
And I like it like that. OK, we're going to be going through the papers next.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark Meets and My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring. Not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain's newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
Let's talk to Roger Kisker, who is the legal counsel for the Christian Legal Centre. Good morning, Roger. I'm really impressed, actually, by the fact that this school is taking the government to court on this. It's the only way we might get any sort of change. How important is it for these families who find a local religious school to keep their children in there? And are they all billionaires awash with cash?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, this is about the fundamental right to educate your children in conformity with your religious beliefs. That's a right guaranteed under the European Convention of Human Rights. And any legislation, primary or secondary, has to be compatible with that convention. And so the basis of our claim is that this is an unfair tax because every country in the EU, first of all, it was by directive that there was no VAT on private education. In the Council of Europe, which is 56 member states, there are no other countries which put VAT on private education. This is an attack on school choice, and this is an attack on honest, hardworking parents who simply want to have their kids educated in a manner which they want them to be raised by themselves. And that, in a democratic nation, should be a given.
Obviously, Labour's logic being, just to provide some balance here, Roger, is that families who send their children to private school can afford the extra 20%. Whether they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children at school, they should be able to afford it, and the schools should be able to absorb some of that cost. And that money will be spent in the state sector. Can you see the logic behind the reasoning?
To be honest, I can't, because not every school is Eton. Not every parent has the means to send their children to private education.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
It's, what is it? It's 7:46. Oh, yes, good morning. Joining us to go through the papers this morning, the GP, Dr Renee Honkamp, and the author and political organiser, James Schneider. Good morning. In the Telegraph, Renee, some members of the PKK, or suspected members, it's a Kurdistan terror sort of group, really, been arrested in London, apparently.
Yeah, so this is in Haringey. It's actually not far from where I work. And I think it actually speaks to the earlier point, which got quite feisty, about integration. And we saw yesterday, after these arrests, that the police did a coordinated raid. They arrested 6 people on terrorism offences. And whilst there is no immediate threat, obviously, of terror in the UK, it still demonstrates that amongst our integrated communities, we have got terror organisations working. And then the community itself came out because they were so distressed about their cultural centre being closed while the police do their investigations, that they were pushing police around yesterday. They were chanting Free Kurdistan on the streets of Haringey. And I think this just speaks to the fact that we are not integrated, and it's very worrying that we have terrorist organisations operating amongst our communities.
James?
I live round the corner from this community centre, and I do think there's a question about integration, but here I think it's much more likely that the Met and the British state have damaged integration. The Kurdish community is extremely well integrated in all up and down Green Lanes, all through Haringey, all around. It's a key part of the community. And lots of the people who live there are refugees because either they've fled political persecution in Turkey, where the Kurds are repressed, or ISIS, who they have been fighting against in northern Syria. What we saw yesterday was these raids, yes, on some suspects, and the police has said there's no imminent threat, and the closing down of the community centre. In what the community found how the police operated was heavy-handed, where there were activists who were beaten, who family members of those arrested were thrown out of their homes, and they went to protest the fact that their community centre, which is right at the heart of the community, and other people use it, I've been there several times, it being closed, and there seemed to have been some clashes with the police. So this does show, I think, quite possibly, we don't know all of the details, and it's possible that the police did everything right, but to me it seems on the face of it that this is an example of the state and the police not helping integration and not helping basic community cohesion, which in ordinary times is completely there. The Kurdish community are very well integrated with other communities in the area.
Should we compare that there were people on the video that I've just watched shoving the police quite hard yesterday? If that had been happening in the summer in the riots and they'd have been the far-right protesters, they'd be in prison now a day later. Should we compare the way that we treat this protest on the streets of London to the way that we treated far-right protests in the summer?
I'm sure that we can, and I'm sure any objective analysis of that would not show that the police who have gone and shut down this community centre were acting less harshly against these members of the Kurdish community than against racist rioters.
But they're not in prison yet, are they?
Burning down the hotels. Well, I hope they're not in prison.
Oh.
If they haven't done anything wrong.
There's a man in prison for unfurling a flag near a mosque in the summer riots.
Yeah, you'll be hardly surprised to see that I'm not in favour of all sorts of actions at the...
Unfurling a flag.
I don't know what's on the flag, I don't know the thing, but probably...
It was a St George's flag.
Probably not, then. That sounds absolutely absurd. I'm not here saying that all bits of policing are good. In fact, I'm saying here, quite possibly, I don't know, right? We don't know, we weren't there, but quite possibly, if the police go in heavy-handed with hundreds of officers, with dogs, etc., shutting down a well-used community centre...
That is housing terrorists.
Hold on. You have absolutely no idea whether that's the case. It's 6 people suspected are arrested. That's one of the places they closed down. It's used by huge numbers of people in the community. It's a major community institution. And the fact that people come out to protest against that happening, and the fact that other members of the community have been arrested, family members have been turfed out of the home. There's a press conference that the community is giving this afternoon where they say they're going to present evidence of attacks against the community. You can see why, if that happened to your community, you might want to protest about it.
So it's OK to push the police around?
Well, hold on, because otherwise we're going to end up just doing one story again. So we do need to crack on with something else. You both made your points very clear on that one. James, can we have a look at the Times? And we need more help to go electric in our driving, apparently.
So apparently... some ministers in the government are lobbying the Treasury for changes, I think particularly to VAT, so that when you charge the electric car not in your home, you pay 5%, which is apparently what you get charged for electricity in your home, rather than 20% outside, and a couple of other tax tweaks to make it easier for people to buy an electric car rather than a traditional one.
Which is, I mean, look, we're moving towards electric. That seems like it's just going to happen now. So we've got to embrace it, haven't we? At least make it work.
Well, it would be quite good if we actually had the grid to make it work, wouldn't it? Because at the moment we're being asked to jump out of the plane and invent the parachute on the way down, which seems like lunacy. I would say that if these cars were attractive enough, people would buy them. The fact that car manufacturers are saying they're going to go out of business because of the penalties, should they not have 22% of their sales for EVs, next year 28%. And if they don't achieve that, every car they sell, they get charged £15,000, or they have to buy credits. I mean, this is all just a game of moving money around to make people do something that they clearly don't want to do. Well, the people that buy electric cars are generally companies or businesses, and they offset it as a tax thing in their accounts. You know,
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Do you think?
Well, it always is. But I think you're right that the infrastructure needs to be in place, both the grid infrastructure and the charge points, and we need to restructure how we travel. We're going to have to restructure how we travel in the coming years, and electric vehicles are clearly part of that. But then there are also other things. I mean, for example, making buses more expensive outside of London in the budget is hardly a good thing if you want to get people to use more buses.
And affects poor people.
Yeah, of course, it's terrible. I think when you're looking at transport policy, we do need to move from combustion engine towards electric and greener things, and that needs to be taken in the round, and public transport needs to be a very big part of that, because at the moment electric cars are at the more expensive end of things, so that's fine for people who can afford it, but for lots of people they can't afford it, and that means you need to make public transport much more efficient and much more affordable.
And the technology needs to change as well, so technology companies for these electric cars need to be incentivised, perhaps, because the range is so small.
Electric cars are going to be the Betamax of the video world. Watch and see.
Okay.
What'll be the DVD?
That's a cheery version.
Well, because we're going to go to hydrogen eventually, or a form of. It's not going to be electric.
Well, possibly. Hydrogen just seems a sensible way forward, but we're not there yet for some reason. I don't know why. We've got 30 seconds, Renee.
Tell us about this game changer on asthma treatment.
So this is for people that really have difficult to treat asthma, and this is actually another monoclonal antibody. We hear about these all the time, and basically it affects the eosinophils, which are the cells that actually cause the inflammation in the lungs. It suppresses our production of those, so it cuts down on asthma. So it could be a game changer. As I said to James, the real problem with people and asthma is that when they feel well, they stop using their inhalers and then they have asthma attacks. So we need to educate people about how to use their inhalers.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you. Thank you both.
Well done, Renee. Impressive stuff. Here's weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a cold and frosty start across much of the country with some mist and fog in places too. Generally turning brighter, though we're likely to see some rain push up from the southwest. So a cold and frosty start, possibly seeing some ice in places too, but generally brightening up through the course of the day, though some mist and fog may be stubborn to clear at times. We'll begin to start to see a bit of change from the southwest as we see an influx of cloud and some outbreaks of rain and drizzle, this turning heavy at times, particularly around Northern Ireland. It is bringing in some milder air though, so temperatures around 8 to 10 degrees in the southwest, but elsewhere it is going to be a rather chilly day on offer. It's also going to be turning quite blustery under that cloud and rain, particularly around western coasts. Outbreaks of heavy rain generally pushing their way into western coasts of Scotland, though the far northeast of Scotland largely staying dry. Still feeling chilly though. Outbreaks of rain continuing across Northern Ireland, still fairly blustery here too, particularly around coasts of Northern Ireland, northwest England too. Elsewhere though, it is going to be a largely dry end to the day. Still some rain and drizzle across parts of Devon and Cornwall, and we're likely to see some clear spells as we head into the evening too. So once again, likely to see some mist and fog and some turning quite chilly under those clearer spells too. So likely to see some frost by the time we reach the morning. Different story there across northern parts of Scotland, where that rain's likely to linger through much of the night, and still those blustery winds continuing in the west. Milder in the west too, particularly under those cloudier skies, but chillier in the east, particularly under those clearer skies. Now, as we head through into Friday, once again, another chilly start with some frost and fog in places, brightening up through the course of the day. But then we almost have a rinse and repeat, really, with more cloud and rain sweeping in from the west, this heavy at times. And it continues to stay rather blustery under cloudier skies too, though likely to see some sunshine across central and southeastern areas, but still another chilly day on the cards.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Aberdeenshire, the A90 is closed each way at Rathen after an accident. There are delays of up to an hour with some cancelled Irish ferry sailings between Holyhead and Dublin for operational reasons. On the M6 in Staffordshire, the inside lane's closed northbound where a vehicle caught fire between junctions 14 and 15 from Stafford North to Stoke-on-Trent. There's also a lane closed southbound after an accident between junctions 11 and 10 from Cannock to the Walsall and Wolverhampton turn. It's very slow towards and past there. Then on the M6 in the West Midlands, 2 out of 4 lanes closed southbound at junction 10 where a van's broken down And very slow there too. On the M1 in Northamptonshire, the inside lane's closed northbound, where a lorry's broken down at junction 16 in Northampton, causing queues. Delays not helped by roadworks. And on the M26 in Kent, it's taking nearly half an hour in westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Imagine getting a call. Good luck.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is the nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. The Tory leader, Kemi Badenoch, admits her party got it wrong on immigration.
As the Home Office prepares to release official migration numbers in just a matter of hours.
I want to rebuild the trust between the Conservative Party and the British people. I know we've got a lot of work to do, but the first step is to accept that mistakes were made.
Well, is Labour doing enough to deter arrivals? The Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp, doesn't think so.
We need a deterrent like Rwanda, and the National Crime Agency have said that as well. The National Crime Agency have said that law enforcement alone won't work. You need a deterrent, and that's why it's wrong that the Labour government cancelled the Rwanda scheme before it even started.
Developments in the Mohammed Al Fayed case as the Metropolitan Police confirm they're now looking at associates of the disgraced businessman who may have assisted in his crimes.
Just a day before MPs vote on the assisted dying bill, former Prime Minister David Cameron does a U-turn and endorses the legislation.
Almost 2 whole weeks into I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and the campmates are finding all sorts of ways to entertain themselves. Don't miss our insider chat with a jungle veteran.
And from one reality show to another one. Strictly Come Dancing semi-finals are on this weekend. We're talking to Angela Rippon, who was the show's oldest ever contestant last year.
And in the sport this morning, Champions League, Liverpool beat Real Madrid with draws for Aston Villa and Celtic. 2 great players have managerial roles, and Bryson DeChambeau tries to hit a hole-in-one over his house.
Hello there, good morning. It's a cold and frosty start for many of us with some fog in places which could be quite slow to clear. I'll be here with all the details.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello and this is GB News Breakfast. We're just having a look to see if there's any views here.
Yeah. Any ones that we can read out this morning that are light-hearted views to kick us off, but sadly no.
Have you ever heard the phrase "jump the shark"?
No.
Jump the shark was invented
Over a shark.
after Happy Days, because jump the shark is a phrase in television for TV shows when they're past their sell-by date. And the reason they call it, you know, if you get to a point you think the show is really good and then something happens and it's just not as good as it used to.
Yeah.
So in Happy Days, they did it with Fonzie was supposed to... The Fonz was jumping over a shark on a motorbike, and they say that was the moment that Happy Days got bad. So all this phrase, jump the shark, comes from that. I just wonder whether I'm a Celebrity should have a jump the shark competition in there.
Yeah. I'm afraid I have no time for these reality shows.
Oh, I've quite enjoyed it this year.
Have you actually watched it?
Yeah, well, when it's on, I'll watch it. But it's actually quite good this year, I thought.
I think it jumped the shark quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do.
I don't know. I feel like this series is very good. I think they've cast it well.
But do they? I don't know. Most of the people are on it.
Yes, you would.
Same with Strictly. No, I don't. I really don't.
You know that boxer, Barry.
Barry McGuigan?
Yeah, Barry.
You know Colleen.
Barry McGuigan and Colleen. Yeah. Who else? There's not.
OT from Strictly.
No.
Actually, Boosie, yes.
Yeah, Boosie. Yeah.
Here we go.
You'd know
Anthony
Lisa,
Deck.
who was on X Factor.
No, don't know. I
think you would.
No, Lisa.
And that's all I've got for you, I think. Oh, the one from McFly.
No, I don't know anyone in McFly. I don't.
Well, I think it's quite a good
I know
series
there's
this
a
year.
Radio 1 DJ, because he's been in the papers.
Oh, yeah, Dean.
something.
Yeah, yeah.
I've never heard of him.
I think it's quite a good series. Let us know what you think.
I mean, it's just... Is it aimed at kids now? So all these young people and kids are meant to know who these celebrities are? I think anyone over the age of about 31 just doesn't know who these people are anymore.
The good thing about those shows originally, it's the same as like Big Brother and Celebrity Big Brother, was when you would put famous people into a situation and you would see them for what they really are.
Yeah.
Whereas these days, reality show stars... They do it all the time. That's their job because they're being filmed all the time.
true.
So therefore, what is that real person? And you don't ever see the unravelling and the real person behind
That's
it.
a very salient point.
Thank you very much.
Would you do The Jungle?
No.
Oh, I think you'd be very good.
I can't. Look, the bottom line is...
You'd be no nonsense.
If someone threw enough money at me...
You'd do it.
You'd do anything.
So
However,
Oh,
it would be desperately hypocritical because I've spent the entire time these shows have been on, I've said
Slagging
I
it
don't
off.
really agree with these reality shows. I don't think it's a good thing. And so if I then went and did it, I would be an absolute hypocrite. But nevertheless, for £500,000...
You'd be a rich hypocrite,
I'd be
so
a rich
who
hypocrite.
cares? Absolutely, good for
But
you.
I wouldn't just go and, because there are people queuing up desperate to be on it. Oh, I'll do it for whatever the lowest figure they can think of is. And so, no.
OK.
No, I know there would be...
And the more people shout, the more people scream, the more they get voted. Oh, don't vote me in, don't vote me in, don't maybe have to do this trial. They know they're getting more screen time, which is more popularity, and then it's more work at the end of it.
Yeah, I can't be
It's a
bothered.
crazy business.
I can't be bothered with all that.
No,
Really?
No, I know you'd love it.
I think I would love it.
You would love it.
I think I'd be quite good as well. I did a lot of,
She says.
I mean, there'd be a lot of spooning, but there was a task last night where Talisa had to answer questions. Some of the questions were OK. It was like, what's the name of your 12 campmates? I think I could manage
Hold on, this is not Mastermind. You're
It's
supposed to be
not
eating cow
Mastermind. I was
testicles
thinking,
or
that's
whatever. I mean,
right.
that's what it's supposed to be.
And that's how you win your meals for camp. I was like, I'd be all right at that.
Yeah.
Anyway, maybe one day.
Maybe I would tune in if you would watch, crawling through a pit of vipers or
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh, thank you.
She has for most of her career already, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, so
You'd be voting me in every Bush Tucker trial, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you'll say.
Right, Kemi Badenoch has outlined what she's calling a new approach to immigration.
Yes, the Conservative leader vows to review Britain's membership of the ECHR, but admits leaving would not be a silver bullet.
Well, ahead of the announcement, she released a clip on social media.
We need to talk about immigration. We need a new approach. The system is broken. We can't go on like this. We got it wrong, and we are going to learn. The Conservatives are going to develop a detailed plan for immigration to put before you at the next election. Not the policies of Labour, which are going to fail, but a real plan that will, for the first time in 30 years, actually bring immigration right down and be honest with you about the trade-offs. It's time to tell the truth on immigration, and over the coming months, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
She puts on a good show.
Oh, she does, yeah.
She just put on a good show. She was very good at PMQs yesterday. I think it's always slightly easier when you're in opposition, of course. But I did. But she's very ballsy.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's quite nice. It makes Keir Starmer look like he's really just not answering any questions. But it is tougher as a Prime Minister. But nevertheless, she does put on a good show.
Well, Labour says the ideas aren't new and claims to be fixing the foundations and smashing criminal gang networks.
Well, at 9:30 this morning, we will get the latest migration figures, where actually a significant fall in net migration is expected. It's worth pointing out these are the figures up until June, so before the election.
Yes. Well, let's cross live now to Westminster and talk to our political correspondent, Catherine Forster. Good to see you this morning, Catherine. I mean, people will listen to that clip of Kemi Badenoch and say, yeah, this is all well and good, but you've had 14 years, or you had 14 years to tackle migration, and it didn't happen. We were at record levels.
Yes, I think that's exactly right. There's a real trust problem now because the Conservatives had 14 years. They spent the first few saying they get it down to the tens of thousands. It ultimately went up to 750,000. So Kemi Badenoch wanting a hearing on this. No specifics, saying she wants to take the time to get these policies right. But the question is, first of all, are the public listening to the Conservatives right now? And even if they are listening, do they believe what they're hearing? She did say that this was a failure of successive governments. She's absolutely right in that because, of course, Tony Blair, before the Conservatives came in, when the EU expanded eastwards, could have brought in restrictions in terms of how fast we allowed people to come in. Plenty of other countries in Western Europe did that. He didn't feel any need for that. So people will feel they have been failed on this for a long time. The figures that are coming out at 9:30 from the Office for National Statistics, those are till the end of June. So nothing to do with the current government. They are expected to be significantly lower than the 685,000 to the end of December, possibly around 500,000. Still vastly more than the Conservatives ever said was acceptable. There'll also be a separate set of figures coming out from the Home Office. Those are released every quarter. They will update us on illegal migration, asylum decisions, number of hotels being used, deportations, and so on and so forth. Safe to say on the matter of illegal migration as well as legal, there's a huge amount of work to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is it. I mean, what is... Well, I don't know if it's quite refreshing or not. It's quite refreshing for me when a politician stands up and says, right, we know there's a serious problem, we know we got it horribly, horribly wrong, so we're going to take time before the next election to work out a plan that actually works, whether it will or not. Who knows? But rather than just throwing ideas out there this far in advance when they can't implement them anyway.
Well, yes, you could argue that, and certainly it was a very marked contrast, Kemi Badenoch's run for the Tory leadership to Robert Jenrick, who was coming out with policies left, right and centre, saying we will leave the ECHR and much more. Besides, she wants to take the time, and of course they have got years till another general election. But of course, all the while, the Reform Party are snapping at the heels. They've got an announcement coming this morning. They're doing well in the polls. We've got local elections coming up next year. The Labour government are plunging in the polls. So in some ways, they've got years to get their act together on this. But the public will be judging them nevertheless.
OK, Catherine, thank you very much indeed.
Now, at GB News, we love to hear what you think, of course, and we do that partly through our poll of the day. We're asking if you agree with Kemi Badenoch, and should migrants have, because one of the ideas she's laid out, should migrants have access to benefits limited? Well, we'll bring the results live throughout the day. Final results in Martin's show later. If you want to take part, go to gbnews.com/poll.
Now, winter fuel cuts are going to impact countless pensioners this winter. I think the number is actually 10 million, isn't it?
Yeah.
With 1 in 3 now deeply concerned about their finances in the coming months.
Well, one community taking measures into their own hands is Gipton in East Leeds, where the old fire station is being turned into a warm space for the elderly this winter.
Well, our Yorkshire and Humber reporter Anna Riley paid a visit.
Old and cold. 100,000 extra pensioners could be poverty-stricken by 2027. That's due to government cuts in their winter fuel payments. It's already impacting people like 75-year-old Susan Worsnop. She can't afford to heat her home and uses this community hub in Leeds as a winter warm space.
I think a lot of people will end up passing with cold because obviously the sick, don't they, and the wrap up and don't move about. Give pensioners something, even if it's not whatever it was, £300. Just give them half of that so they can survive.
Only those eligible for pension credit will have government support for fuel bills this winter. With only around 1.5 million older people entitled to the benefit, tens of thousands of pensioners, like Paul Coleman, will be forced to choose between heating and eating.
I'm on medication which actually thins my blood, so I feel the cold even more. But that doesn't seem to come into it. I'm probably just over the limit, but I can't get it now, so we very rarely have the heating on. I sit in a nightgown and a big furry sort of onesie and a fur hat. Shouldn't have to sit like that on an evening in the hall.
Kay Haig looks after her elderly mother and they struggle to pay the bills. She feels that the government is out of touch.
The government should do it where they are not allowed their wages, their credit cards, their whatever goodness they've got, and live, get a council house, find a way to start decorating, find a way to start getting beds and sofas and everything we've had to do, and see how they feel when they've spent a good few months living hand to mouth.
The old fire station is a lifeline for the community. The centre provides discounted meals, a food bank and a space to keep warm.
Gipton, Harells, all this area of East Leeds is one of the most deprived areas probably in the country. It gives older people, well, everyone who comes here really, that sense of belonging to something a bit more than just being sat at home, freezing in the cold, coming and just having not just a warm, temperature-wise, but a warm welcome.
Millions of older people will gain an increase of up to £470 in the state pension in April. But to help with energy bills now, the government say many pensioners will benefit from a £150 warm home discount and winter weather payments. But that's cold comfort to those who don't meet the criteria. Anna Riley, GB News.
It's 8:15. Let's have a look at some of the key stories this morning. And a police investigation has been launched into more than 5 people who may have facilitated former Harrods boss Mohammed Al-Fayed in his alleged sexual abuse of dozens of women. An internal review also being carried out by the Metropolitan Police into how the force handled claims about Al-Fayed whilst he was alive.
A new way of treating asthma has been described as a game changer. Tests have found that an injection of a new drug significantly reduces symptoms. It's the first major treatment discovery of the condition in over 50 years.
A teenager who inspired the Princess of Wales after pursuing a photography bucket list, really, while facing a rare form of cancer, has died. She passed away, Liz Hatton, in the early hours of yesterday in Harrogate, less than a year after being diagnosed with a tumour. She was 17 years old and she was pictured only last month with the Princess of Wales at Windsor Castle. We're trying to get this drug, this asthma drug, which is a real breakthrough.
Yeah.
Benralizumab.
Benralizumab.
There you go.
Benralizumab.
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 They're not easy. Why don't they name drugs like more like proper names?
Well, they just need to call it Bezab.
Bezab or something.
Or Bezub. They need to make it a bit more user-friendly, I think.
Benralizumab.
Benralizumab. We'll get there.
We'll get there in the end. Right, let's look at the weather. Here's Honor.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a cold and frosty start across much of the country with some mist and fog in places too. Generally turning brighter, though we're likely to see some rain push up from the southwest. So a cold and frosty start, possibly seeing some ice in places too, but generally brightening up through the course of the day, though some mist and fog may be stubborn to clear at times. We'll begin to start to see a bit of change from the southwest as we see an influx of cloud and some outbreaks of rain and drizzle, this turning heavy at times, particularly around Northern Ireland. It is bringing in some milder air though, so temperatures around 8 to 10 degrees in the southwest, but elsewhere it is going to be a rather chilly day on offer. It's also going to be turning quite blustery under that cloud and rain, particularly around western coasts. Outbreaks of heavy rain generally pushing their way into western coasts of Scotland, though the far northeast of Scotland largely staying dry. Still feeling chilly though. Outbreaks of rain continuing across Northern Ireland, still fairly blustery here too, particularly around coasts of Northern Ireland, northwest England too. Elsewhere though, it is going to be a largely dry end to the day. Still some rain and drizzle across parts of Devon and Cornwall, and we're likely to see some clear spells as we head into the evening too. So once again, likely to see some mist and fog and some turning quite chilly under those clearer spells too. So likely to see some frost by the time we reach the morning. Different story there across northern parts of Scotland, where that rain's likely to linger through much of the night, and still those blustery winds continuing in the west. Milder in the west too, particularly under those cloudier skies, but chillier in the east, particularly under those clearer skies. Now, as we head through into Friday, once again, another chilly start with some frost and fog in places, brightening up through the course of the day. But then we almost have a rinse and repeat, really, with more cloud and rain sweeping in from the west, this heavy at times. And it continues to stay rather blustery under cloudier skies too. They're likely to see some sunshine across central and southeastern areas, but still another chilly day on the cards.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, how would you like to get your hands on £50,000? All of it, completely tax-free. Rachel Reeves can't touch it. It's our biggest cash prize giveaway that we've ever done, and it could all be yours. Here's how.
It's our festive treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest ever Great British giveaway.
Do stay with us. Still to come, Pat Sharp, your mate.
I like Pat.
Yeah.
Known a long time.
He'll be joining us to talk about everything I'm a Celebrity, which you won't like so much. But you like Pat.
I like Pat.
So we'll make it work.
And he is a celebrity.
And he is a celebrity, so that's next.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
It seems that the younger generation's interest in literature is waning. Academics argue that educational policies have failed to encourage reading for pleasure, contributing to declining numbers of English literature students and a shift towards young adult books rather than classic novels. According to 2023 figures from the National Literacy Trust, the number of 8 to 18-year-olds who say they enjoy reading has sunk to its lowest level for almost 20 years, with a quarter fewer reading each day over that same time period. To share more with us about this topic, I'm joined now by the journalist Charlotte Lytton. Charlotte, welcome back. Lovely to talk to you again. Tell us your perspective on this issue. What is happening?
Well, speaking to academics,
we can't deny, it seems, that there is a big problem here, and it starts right at school. As you read there, young children simply don't enjoy reading for pleasure as they did before. We can't deny that is also a massive part because of smartphones, because kids now are faced with all of these things vying for their attention. They just don't have to sit down and entertain themselves with a long book and nothing else as they did before. As we see from those figures with people going to study humanities at university, the decline is just going all the way because people simply are not interested in reading for pleasure as they were.
Do you get any feeling that education policy or that teachers are taking steps to counter this?
Well, there is a review of the curriculum going ahead right now, but school is a huge part of it. One of the things that has come up in this conversation is whether teachers now are dealing with crowd control, which means they can't simply encourage reading for pleasure because they're simply trying to get a hold of the students they have.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Like calling the emergency services. Did you hear the door just shutting?
Yeah.
You rubbed off a little bit of eyeliner, didn't you?
Yeah, so I put in some eye drops and then I wiped off my eyeliner by accident and then...
So they're rushing in here like you wouldn't believe to sort her out. It's like a whole team of people. It's like a pit stop in the
It's
F1.
like an F1 pit stop. That's exactly what it's like. It's very speedy, but thank goodness.
Oh, thank goodness. Well, you look fabulous again.
Thanks. Well, I'm back in the room now.
Back in the room.
You'll be glad to know. But we're not in Australia, unfortunately.
You couldn't do it in the jungle.
No, you couldn't do it. I don't know
If you're
how
I'm a
I'd
celebrity,
cope.
what would you do?
I don't know.
No.
Maybe my eyeliner could be my one special item. I think you can take in one special item. We'll find out in just a moment.
Yes.
Well, jungle life is well underway in Australia, where I'm a Celebrity campmates are finding all sorts of ways to fill the time.
Yes, the first elimination is just around the corner. So who might go home first, and who of these unknown people who's on track to win?
Try and sound enthusiastic.
Honestly,
Lots of people do like it, I know. Well, one man who knows all about life in the jungle is radio and television presenter, your mate Pat Sharp, who appeared in the 2011 series. You'll be happy because you like him.
I like Pat. I hope you rinsed him for loads of money, Pat, when they made you do it. What do you make of... Has he gone past its best?
I think it's a little difficult, Stephen and Ellie, good morning, to make it different. Different is very hard because you kind of know that that's what's going to happen now, and they're going to eat something or they're going to be scared with some insects or something. So that is what it is, but it is only for a few weeks a year. So maybe it's a formula that works, and that's why it's still on, gets the ratings, I guess.
And Pat, what is it actually like living in the jungle for 3 weeks without your luxuries, without your creature comforts?
It's amazing. It's incredible. It was the greatest experience of my life. I loved every minute of it. And sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night and you hear like some bandicoot or something going, what? I mean, we had a moment where a bandicoot got eaten by a snake and you saw it going down its neck, and then the rangers came in and got a stick and pulled it out, and it went up like this and came out, and everyone just went, and then they went, OK, you can go back to sleep now. And we all went...
In terms of all that sort of thing, how protected are you?
You're protected from a point of view that the cameras are watching all the time, and there's a speaker there that they talk into and get you ready and stuff. Say when Enter Deck come in, they go, "Good morning, celebrities. You have 1 hour to get ready for Enter Deck." If a funnel web spider is crawling across the ground and looks like it's coming a bit too near you, they tell you to move.
How does it work in... How does it work in terms of what you can bring in, Pat? Is it literally just the one item you're allowed to choose?
Yes, absolutely, Ellie. Brought in a. You'll laugh at this because of what Stephen just said that you popped out. I brought in some hair wax, I think, which is obvious for me. And it was totally useless. I wish I'd bought a pillow or something. It was useless.
Why on earth did you think hair wax? Well, you have always been a bit hair obsessed, Pat. Let's be honest.
Yeah, my wife said it'd be a really good idea, so you look nice on the telly. But of course, you end up just looking awful anyway because you're in the jungle and you're knackered, and you know.
Well, you know, for again, Pat. What about the food? Is it really as bad as it all seems?
Awful. I mean, the rice and beans was just dreadful, and if you're not getting enough stars like Talisa didn't do last night, you're in trouble. So yeah, I lost I think 1.5 stone, and I'm pretty slim anyway. So when I came out, I was moving around the shower to get wet.
Oh, blooming heck!
Oh my goodness!
But you were kicked out quite early, weren't you? Is that disappointing, or is it just a relief to get out?
I'm going to pick you up on that because you haven't done your homework, Stephen Dixon.
I thought I've got a list here. I thought you were out quite early.
Not kicked out, beaten out in a head-to-head challenge that was the most popular moment of the series with Fatima Whitbread, where the cockroach went up her nose and came out again 20 minutes later. It was a head-to-head challenge. I wasn't kicked out.
I see.
Very good, Pat. Very good.
I don't understand these things, Pat. I've never seen it, not even when you were in it.
We can forgive him. He's never actually seen the show, have you?
Yeah, but you're on with Fatima Whitbread, and quite frankly, that's what more do you need. The woman's amazing.
She's a legend as well, isn't she?
She's amazing. And she beat me in that, so that was good. But it was 13 years ago, so a long time, and your turn will come, Stephen.
Oh, it will not. Oh, it will not.
Pat, what do you make of this series so far? Who's the standout for you?
For me, it's probably Danny. I like Danny from McFly. He's quite into it. He gets on with it. I mean, the thing is, without sounding rude to them, they're all a bit too friendly with each other. And also, they need a bit more banter. And lastly, if you're going to go into the jungle, do not be scared and scream when there's an insect near you. Just get on with it. That's what the show is.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Did you have not you necessarily, but in your time, was it quite fractious? Was there a few rows broke out?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I had a fantastic sort of storyline, so to speak, with Lorraine Chase and a teddy bear, and it was brilliant. You know, we're going to burn the teddy bear at the stake at midnight, and there was psychiatrists talking about it on This Morning. It was all going off.
Oh wow. Wow.
The world's gone mad, hasn't it?
Yeah.
The world has gone mad.
And Pat, you took part, I believe, in 2 trials before that final head-to-head with Fatima. So what were those experiences like for you?
Oh, excellent. I loved it. I really got into it. One of them I had to swim out with. There were little crocodiles there, and I had to go and grab some stars and get back, and then go into a fridge where there was a pig's head staring at me and various different things.
You wouldn't cope with that.
You know, but that's what I say. If you don't embrace it and you don't get on with it, then don't accept the challenge. Don't do the show. You have to be able to get involved and get your hands dirty.
Yeah, it's not what I call a fun house, Pat.
No, but there were prizes to be won.
Well, brilliant stuff, Pat. Really good to see you.
Thanks, Pat.
Thanks very much.
Good to see you.
You see, Pat's Funhouse, that was before your time, isn't it? Huge show on Kids TV. It was an amazing thing. That's in the days when Pat had hair down his back. And
I've seen the pictures.
The mullet.
The mullet.
The mullet's famous mullet.
Which is coming back, you know. That's what all the young people have.
That's all down to Stranger Things, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
See, you're across that.
That's a great show. And that's set in the 80s, and now all that fashion's coming back. Maybe I'll grow one myself.
Well, no, maybe we don't do that.
No, maybe
I liked
not.
your hair. You've had a haircut this week.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
very smart.
Thank you very much indeed.
Very good.
Luke will be very pleased. That's my...
Yes, good work, Luke.
My
good work.
stylist.
Very nice.
I like to call him. Right, got the sport with Paul in just a moment.
The latest GB News travel. Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Aberdeenshire, the A90 is closed each way at Rathen because of an accident. In Glasgow, the A739 is closed northbound through the Clyde Tunnel for emergency lighting repairs, causing queues. There are delays of up to an hour with some cancelled Irish ferry sailings between Holyhead and Dublin for operational reasons. On the M6 in Staffordshire, the inside lane's closed northbound where a van caught fire between junctions 14 and 15 from Stafford North to Stoke-on-Trent, causing long delays. And then there's a lane closed southbound between junctions 11 and 10 from Cannock to the Walsall and Wolverhampton turn because of an accident causing delays. On the M1 in Northamptonshire, the inside lane's closed northbound where a lorry's broken down at junction 16 near Northampton, causing queues. And in London, Seven Sisters Road is closed off the A1 Holloway Road where they're dealing with a fire. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark meets and My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's sports time. Paul Coit is here with us. Morning.
Good morning.
Should we start with the UEFA Champions League?
Let's do a little bit of Champions League from last night. Liverpool beat Real Madrid 2-0. Very good. Very good result. 2 missed penalties, by the way, in the game. And Kevin Kelleher saved a penalty from Kylian Mbappe.
It's one for the CV.
It is one for the CV.
He's the number 2 guy.
He is, yeah, because Alisson is out, whereas Kelleher is brilliant. I mean, he was terrific. Whereas if you're a number 2 goalkeeper, the chances are, when the main goalkeeper is fit, you're never going to get to play. So you're just like sitting on the bench. So what does he do? Does he think, do I stick around in Liverpool? Is there a good chance that maybe I will become number 1? Or is it time to move on? Because there's a lot of clubs that would have him as their number 1. Yeah. Aston Villa drew with Juventus, should have won because very controversial goal that was disallowed right at the death. Morgan Rogers scored. There was a foul on the goalkeeper by Diego Carlos. It just touched him. It was ridiculous. The goalkeeper rolls around on the floor. Referee says free kick to Juventus. I think they were very unlucky, or they were lucky to actually get the free kick. And Celtic drew with Club Brugge. Tonight, Europa League.
Tottenham
Hotspur will play Roma tonight.
Yeah. What are your chances?
I think chances are very good. Roma, they're third manager already. They're already through 3 managers. Spurs after beating Manchester City at the weekend.
I really wish I'd seen you the day after that. 4-0.
That was pretty good, wasn't it?
I was thinking of you. I was thinking of you.
And the most ridiculous thing is that I wasn't here for the show on Monday. And if ever I wanted to come in and talk about it, I would have been like... But anyway, so Spurs play Roma. Manchester United play Bodo Glimt Do you have any idea where Bodo Glimt are from?
It sounds Dutch or...
No, more northern.
Norwegian.
Norwegian is... Was that a guess?
Yeah, that was a guess. I only know that because the
bird, it's like the line,
yeah, it's got the line
the
through
zero, the O
was
with
the
the...
educated guess.
Very good, very good. Nice, Rangers are away in Nice, and in the Conference League, Chelsea play FC Heidenheim from Germany. So there's lots of football on tonight.
That's your favourite, yeah.
Yes. Now, I'm no golfer.
Are you not?
I'm no golfer,
right.
But I salute Bryson DeChambeau for his great efforts.
Bryson DeChambeau, he's a fine golfer. Plays for Live Golf, and quite... Look, it's on already there. There we are. The idea is that he's trying to hit the ball over his house.
Which is glass front.
Look at this, there he goes, and try and get a hole in one. 16 days he's been doing it. 16 days, for crying out loud.
I could do it.
Right, have a look at this one. This looks good. It looks good. And it's in the hole.
It's in.
Oh! 133 misses, no broken windows, 80 million views. Bryson DeChambeau more happy there than he won the US Open. Unbelievable.
Oh, it's a very clever shot.
It really is.
Perfect.
He should have just
exactly right.
He should have cleared all the balls out of the way.
Yes.
They would make it look like it just got there.
There he goes again. There we go. Look at that.
Again.
It's
fantastic.
I reckon it's got that many views because it was a glass house. That's what makes me nervous.
But
People are nervous about those windows.
But what's interesting is that nobody's mentioned they make a load of money because it was on the PGA. Well, I mean, he's with Live Golf, but Rory McIlroy made a fortune, the millions, because the PGA put a lot of money into the fact that if you show golf in a very positive light, in other words, on social media, and you get a lot of people looking at golf, Bryson's thinking, you know what? That's what I'll do. So more people were watching him on TikTok and on social media than actually watching him play in proper tournaments.
Very good.
Opening
Well done
up
him.
to everybody.
Oh, good on him.
Can we just play some quick birthdays?
Yeah, quick birthdays. OK, first, sporting birthday. Who is this? How old are they today? Look, it's a showbiz
it's
birthday.
Martin Clune.
We're going showbiz today.
Martin Clune.
How old is Martin Clune?
He's 66.
I'd say 62.
63. 63. Next one. Let's go with another one. By the way, please feel free to...
it's Richard Osmond.
It is Richard Osmond.
Richard Osmond is 57.
He's Donny Osmond's brother and Meryl Osmond, right? So he was yeah. Now, Richard Osmond, how old is Richard Osmond?
I'd say 54.
57.
54 is the right answer.
1-0.
Right, let's go to the sporting birthdays now. Friend of ours, it's the great Chris Akabusi.
Oh, wow.
Our great friend, Chris.
50.
He's how old do you think?
50. 50. 60. 70? 60.
I don't know, I'm just making strange noises.
It's 68.
68 for Chris
61.
Akabusi.
Yeah.
61.
66.
Oh,
66.
so close.
He looks great for 66.
great.
Amazing man.
And finally, you probably don't know who this is. This is like the mystery man. But I tell you who that is. That is a man who played football in the Cup final and played for England. That's him playing football. And he's a horse racing trainer, the legendary Mick Shannon. And I always remember Michael Meanley, when I was at school, said, I've got a signed picture of Mick Shannon. And I said, well, show me. And it was written in pencil, and he'd actually spelt it wrong. So I knew that it was fake. But anyway, Michael, you've rumbled all these years on. How old is Mick Shannon today?
76.
72.
76 is the right answer.
Yay!
It's a score draw.
Yay!
What a wonderful game that was.
Is it right you've got a signed Elvis poster?
Yes, I do.
Signed by the man himself?
Signed by Elvis Presley, yeah.
How much you pay for that? Millions and trillions.
I tell you what, it was an Elvis auction.
Yeah.
About 25 years ago. It cost about £1,000. It was all folded up, couldn't even see it, and it's roustabout, and it's about 7 foot tall, and it's got a signature signed by Elvis Presley.
Would you sell it now?
Don't know. How
Make
much
millions.
Do you reckon it's worth $1 million?
Yeah, I reckon it's worth
$1 billion?
Yeah, I reckon.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd get that.
Anyway, the way things are going, it probably won't be there when I get home now.
No.
But it is a huge, huge poster, and signed by Elvis.
You need to get that valued.
Possession. You think
Let
so?
us know.
I'd sell it.
I'd sell it.
OK.
Sell it. Take it to an auction.
Yeah, do you think
Then go
so?
on a nice holiday.
You get 40, 50 maybe 100 grand.
Oh, so I've got another 20 in the garage.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Knocking them out.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it would be worth that.
Yeah, it would, yeah.
No,
defo.
really?
It would,
Yeah,
yeah.
defo.
Wow.
Anyway.
Thanks, Coity.
Oh, there you go.
And now you've got your advice, off you go.
Mrs. Coyte's
You won't see me for a while.
Right. See you tomorrow, definitely.
Okay. I'm thinking about how much money I'm going to make.
We've got the papers for you in just a minute.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
1 in 20 people are diagnosed with seasonal affective disorder across the UK.
Yes, Healthwatch has revealed that men are more likely to suffer from this than women. Did you know?
Triggers apparently include a decrease in daylight hours, which is certainly happening around about now. If you're leaving the office, it's dark. When you come home, it's dark, as well as the falling temperatures.
Yes, and both of those things happen a lot, don't they, here in Britain? So how can we combat the symptoms of seasonal affective disorder? Well, to discuss this, we're joined now by Dr. Andreas Fonseca, the founder and director of Thrive Mental Wellbeing. Really good to see you this morning, Doctor. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Now, there'll be lots of people watching and listening this morning and saying, what a load of rubbish. It's always been cold in this country. It's always been dark. What is seasonal affective disorder? Is it really a thing?
Well, it is a thing, and it's been known for quite some time. This is not new, really. It is a form of depression. That's what it is. And it's got specific characteristics that kind of differentiate it from other forms of depression. So the reason probably we're talking more about it is because it's basically people are more aware of it and they're recognizing it more. So before you used to be sort of just saying this person's got depression, now you have some specific things to look at that can differentiate it from other kinds of depression, which is quite useful because it's got some specific forms of treatment. So the things that are different about seasonal affective disorder are that for the diagnosis you need 2 years in which you only have episodes during either the late autumn or early winter. So that's when they start, and they fade away by late spring, summer. Early summer. So that's how it works. And you cannot have any episodes at any other time. So it has to be seasonal, specifically seasonal.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
Oh, and it's still going. Oh, and it's still going.
It's just showing everyone the Christmas tree.
Looking at Stephen's Christmas tree, which does look very good. You've gone for gold lights this year.
Yes, red and gold is the theme, James.
Traditional.
Yeah. It's just disgusted that the tree is up already.
Well, it does seem a bit early. It's November. You put the tree up in December.
Got to enjoy it, James. There's very few things in this life to enjoy. We should be enjoying our Christmas trees, I think.
Yeah, so our Christmas Grinches, James Schneider and Rennie Honderkamp are here, because neither of them have done anything for Christmas yet so far.
And we've put our trees up already.
James, make Amazon pay. Amazon workers are going to go on strike.
Yes, tomorrow in probably over 30 countries around the world, Amazon workers and citizens and their supporters are going to go on strike and protest against Amazon. And they're doing it for improving pay and conditions for workers, but also protesting Amazon doesn't pay its taxes properly. It has huge environmental damage, and it's also involved in military contracts, including with the Israeli state. So there's a whole load of reasons why people are coming out and taking action. You'll see workers in the US, in Spain, in Italy, in Germany, in Bangladesh, and all throughout Amazon's supply chain taking action to stand up for themselves.
So is it a bit too multifaceted? It's one thing to say they should pay all their taxes, and which, you know, great. Better conditions for workers, yeah, got to agree with that. But if you're going to go on all the environmental, military, what's the aim of it? Just to shut them down?
No, the aim is to make them pay for any damages or abuses that they have, as the campaign slogan says. And we've found, so this has been running now. This is the 5th year of a global strike that we've been organising. Found that bringing together different issues and workers of different types across the globe. Call centre workers, garment workers, delivery drivers, warehouse workers. It strengthens their position and they take strength in each other's struggles.
Renee, what do you make of that?
You know, I don't have a problem with this. I actually think that Amazon is one of the companies, and there are several who should be paying much more tax to the countries in which they operate. So I have no problem with that. I'm a little bit suspect. James didn't mention this in the green room, by the way. That also part of it is against Israel. Of course it is, because there's always a bit of Israel thrown in, and let's stop, you know, anything that's connected to Israel. So that, I think, is a shame, and I think you're right, Stephen. It's too diverse. We should focus on the things that matter, the tax that they pay, the damage that they do.
OK, Renee, let's have... Oh, this story just broke my heart this morning when I read this. Liz Hatton, that 17-year-old girl who was welcomed to Windsor about a month ago, I believe, to photograph.
I know. I heard this story this morning on the radio, and I just thought how terribly, terribly sad that anybody dies, age 17. I mean, it's no life lived, is it? I mean, I'm pleased that she got that opportunity that she really, really wanted with Catherine, and at least, you know, part of her life fulfilled that wish. But how terribly sad for the family and for her.
Oh, it's so sad.
I hope they can take some comfort from the fact that she went out on this high and spending that time. I know she was pictured hugging Catherine, but Prince William was there as well. And, you know, what a thing to do.
And the family have got that photo forever. I mean, it's beautiful.
Live on, won't they?
Yeah.
And I'm sure the I was going to call them the Waleses. They are the Waleses now, aren't they? They'll be getting in touch.
Yeah,
I'm sure they'll be getting in touch very privately. We'll never know about it, but I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
Dating apps, James.
Apparently, people are falling out of love with them.
Wonder why?
According to the front page of the Times, the numbers of people using them, having gone up and up and up each year, has now plateaued. So maybe people are opting for the more traditional ways of meeting people. Meeting organically.
It's the only way to actually... Well, I know some people have
it's worked very well for some people. I mean, I personally think that doing things more organically is probably going to be better, or it's more to my taste. But it has worked well for lots of people.
So I absolutely agree. There's a very interesting young woman, she's about 22, who writes on this and has a podcast called Freya India. And she talks about this dating industry, and she said all she ever wanted to do as a teenager was go down the pub and meet a man and fall in love. And the dating apps just don't do that. And she said they've become so, you know, it's just literally people looking for sex and just sexting their way around the world. And, you know, we need to get back to traditional ways of meeting face-to-face, but we also need to stop toxifying it. You know, a man flirting with a woman is not toxic. Men and women have done this for years. Obviously, you know, we need to know about boundaries, but we also need to allow men and women to do what comes naturally.
I think it's also about spontaneity in society. It's much harder to, you know, just randomly go out in an evening in London and not know what you're doing and have a good time than it was, I think, you know, 15 years ago or so.
Yeah,
and if you don't have spontaneity in your life in general terms, then that spontaneous meeting with someone is less likely to happen.
I think it's also where you are, because I was just thinking, as you said, that London, going out to try and meet someone in London is one thing. If you live in a small town and you go down your local pub, there's probably you're more likely to meet someone that you get to know over a period of time. And
but this is also why we need to support our pubs and our hospitality areas, because they are important social integrators. They really are.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, a dating coach has said in this article that men outnumber women on the apps, so men are becoming disillusioned, and women have so many people to choose from that they can't make a choice. That's apparently what the issue is. Men are outnumbering women. But others saying that ghosting, catfishing and general bad behaviour have appeared to have taken their toll, which is a potential point.
That catfishing, that's when people pretend to be someone they're not.
They're not, with
fake
other
pictures and things.
Yes.
Dear me. Renee, never mind all of this. You could be £177 million richer
Yeah, I'm not, or I wouldn't be here.
Oh, it's not you, is it?
It's not me. I mean, this is amazing, isn't it? £177 million.
Yeah.
What a
Third
Christmas
largest-
present.
Third largest. I know, we bought some tickets, actually, but sadly didn't win a penny.
I think in 2006 was the first time it went over 100 million. And I thought, I'm gonna play, and I put it on, and no one won, and it went up to 125 million. I thought, I'm going to do it again, and I woke up the next morning and I checked my email, and it said from the National Lottery, you've won. And I've never been more angry to win £64 away. Or something like that. But for a fraction of a second, I was like, I've got 127 million.
Yeah, that is the thing. I'm always convinced it's going to be me when I buy a ticket.
Well, they say it could be you.
Yeah.
You've got to be in it to win it.
Is.
Yeah, you have. I know. It's always, I always think it's going to be, but I do know if you win the jackpot, they ring you, don't they? If you've done it on the app or website, they've got your details, they will call you.
See, if someone called me, I would think that was a fake. I got a call from someone yesterday saying, "Hello, we've found your Bitcoin in our account. We can give you all of the Bitcoin." And I said, "But I don't have any Bitcoin." And they said, "You don't need to be smart with me," and hung up the phone.
Oh dear me! Bitcoin worth £3 million if you just give them your bank details.
Yeah, exactly.
James, let's look at the Express, shall we? An inheritance tax on farmers.
Yes. So Ollie Harrison, who I think has been on this programme, or he's been on GB News. I've seen him here campaigning against the inheritance tax. He's come out asking the government to change its position. I don't think the government is going to change its position, where it could do in a way that would both deal with the problem that they say they want to deal with, which is a real problem, which is very rich people buying agricultural land not to farm it but to dodge inheritance tax, and not bring in the smaller end of the farms over the top of that. Because the people who are buying big farms in order to dodge inheritance tax will still only pay 20% on it rather than the 40% they would pay on anyway. So there is a fix there, I think, which is about half of the farms that are currently claiming the relief aren't operating as farms. So if you're not operating as a farm, you can't claim it as farmland. You should pay the 40%.
Yes, I absolutely...
Yeah, that's so easy and so right.
It's so easy, and I absolutely agree with you. But to actually do the other thing that they're doing is actually a complete misunderstanding of farming. It's a complete misunderstanding of family farms that have to be passed down.
Well, and family wealth as well.
And family wealth, because these people are not normally that wealthy, these smaller farms. And actually, it's a complete disregard for our security in our food chain.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. He said, Ollie Harrison said that the government is stealing our children's future, which sounds very dramatic. For once, that sort of catchphrase, if you like, is absolutely right.
It really is.
There we must leave it. Thank you both very much indeed.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you this morning.
Renee, James, thank you very much indeed. Let's have a look at the weather now with Honor.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a cold and frosty start across much of the country with some mist and fog in places too. Generally turning brighter, though we're likely to see some rain push up from the southwest. So a cold and frosty start, possibly seeing some ice in places too, but generally brightening up through the course of the day, though some mist and fog may be stubborn to clear at times. We'll begin to start to see a bit of change from the southwest as we see an influx of cloud and some outbreaks of rain and drizzle, this turning heavy at times, particularly around Northern Ireland. It is bringing in some milder air though, so temperatures around 8 to 10 degrees in the southwest, but elsewhere it is going to be a rather chilly day on offer. It's also going to be turning quite blustery under that cloud and rain, particularly around western coasts. Outbreaks of heavy rain generally pushing their way into western coasts of Scotland, though the far northeast of Scotland largely staying dry. Still feeling chilly though. Outbreaks of rain continuing across Northern Ireland, still fairly blustery here too, particularly around coasts of Northern Ireland, northwest England too. Elsewhere though, it is going to be a largely dry end to the day. Still some rain and drizzle across parts of Devon and Cornwall, and we're likely to see some clear spells as we head into the evening too. 2. So once again, likely to see some mist and fog and some turning quite chilly under those clearer spells too. So likely to see some frost by the time we reach the morning. Different story there across northern parts of Scotland, where that rain's likely to linger through much of the night, and still those blustery winds continuing in the west. Milder in the west too, particularly under those cloudier skies, but chillier in the east, particularly under those clearer skies. Now, as we head through into Friday, once again, another chilly start with some frost and fog in places, brightening up through the course of the day. But then we almost have a rinse and repeat, really, with more cloud and rain sweeping in from the west, this heavy at times. And it continues to stay rather blustery under cloudier skies too. They're likely to see some sunshine across central and southeastern areas, but still another chilly day on the cards.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's our festive treat to you. Your chance to win an incredible £50,000 in tax-free cash. Our biggest ever Great British giveaway.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Aberdeenshire, the A90 is closed each way at Rathen after an accident. On the M74 in Glasgow, there's a lane closed northbound where someone's broken down at junction 3 at Carlisle, causing queues. On Merseyside, the A567 is closed at Litherland for an investigation. The M6 in Staffordshire, the inside lane's closed northbound. A man caught fire between junctions 14 and 15 from Stafford North to Stoke-on-Trent, causing long delays. On the M6 from Staffordshire into the West Midlands, the inside lane's closed southbound. There was an accident between junctions 11 and 10 from Cannock to the Walsall and Wolverhampton turn, causing delays. On the M1 in Northamptonshire, there's a lane closed northbound where a lorry's broken down at junction 16 near Northampton, causing queues. In London, Seven Sisters Road is closed off the A1 Holloway Road because of a fire. Chiswick High Road's closed along the South Circular at Kew, where a car caught fire. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking... This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. The Tory leader, Kemi Badenoch, admits her party got it wrong on immigration.
As the Home Office prepares to release official migration numbers in a matter of hours.
Well, is Labour doing enough to deter arrivals? The Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp, doesn't think so.
We need a deterrent like Rwanda, and the National Crime Agency have said that as well. The National Crime Agency have said that law enforcement alone won't work. You need a deterrent, and that's why it's wrong that the Labour government cancelled the Rwanda scheme before it even started.
Developments in the Mohammed Al Fayed case as the Metropolitan Police confirm they're now looking at associates of the disgraced businessman who may have assisted in his crimes.
Just a day before MPs vote on the assisted dying bill, the former Prime Minister Lord Cameron does a U-turn and endorses the legislation.
We'll be talking about Strictly Come Dancing as this is semi-finals this weekend. We'll be talking to the legendary Angela Rippon, who became the show's oldest ever contestant last year.
Hello there, good morning. It's a cold and frosty start for many of us with some fog in places which could be quite slow to clear. I'll be here with all the details.
It's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello and this is GB News Breakfast.
So, Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has outlined what she's calling a new approach to immigration.
Yes, the Conservative leader vows to review Britain's ECHR membership but admits leaving would not be a silver bullet.
Well, ahead of the announcement, she released a clip on social media.
We need to talk about immigration. We need a new approach. The system is broken. We can't go on like this. We got it wrong and we are going to learn. The Conservatives are going to develop a detailed plan for immigration to put before you at the next election. Not the policies of Labour, which are going to fail, but a real plan that will, for the first time in 30 years, actually bring immigration right down and be honest with you about the trade-offs. It's time to tell the truth on immigration, and over the coming months, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Well, Labour says the ideas aren't new and claims to be fixing the foundations and smashing criminal gang networks.
Well, in the next half hour, the latest migration figures are due to be released. Now, these take us up to June, so before the general election. So these are the Tories' figures, if you like, where we are expecting a significant fall in net migration.
Well, let's speak now to our Home and Security editor, Mark White. And these figures coming out in under half an hour now, Mark.
Oh, joy, yes. This is my favourite part of the year when I'm trying to trawl through impenetrable figures and making sense of it and, you know, failing miserably usually. But yes, you're right. The net migration figures are for the year to June, so really taking in what the situation was under the previous government, because, of course, the new government came in July there. Now, what they will show is a fall from the net migration figure for the previous year, which was 685,000, which is just both main parties accept an unacceptably high net migration figure. That's a city, the size of Aberdeen at least, coming across every year. And the figures are expected to reflect some of the changes that the Conservatives brought in to try to get those figures down. So things like changes to the student visa system for foreign students studying here in the UK. Previously, of course, they were allowed to take their family members across. That, since January, is no longer the case, except for longer-term study visas. So the vast majority of those foreign students cannot take their family members across. So that's expected, we understand, to show quite a significant drop, both in the dependents coming across, but also in the number of students actually applying to study here as a consequence. And will be very interesting to see two of the countries, Nigeria and India, which were two countries that were responsible among them for the vast majority of family members coming across the UK, to see what that actual figure will be. The figures also take into account the last 6 months, the back half of last year. Now, that does, in that period, it was a time in which a significant number of care workers and other workers within the health sector came across. So that will balance it out. But we're still expecting to see a drop on that 685 figure from last year.
What's interesting, talking to Chris Philp earlier on, the Shadow Home Secretary now, and he's pointed out that only 1 in 7 of non-EU visas in the last 5 years were primarily for work purposes. And he says this is unacceptable. Well, obviously, it's Conservatives that have allowed this to happen. And so are we moving towards, from their perspective, are we moving towards a position of where they've tinkered around the edges to now taking perhaps a more Trumpian approach and being a bit more heavy-handed?
Well, we don't know because they haven't said. All we got was this grand speech from Kemi Badenoch yesterday when she was talking about the priority will be to put the people of the UK first in any of the migration policies that come up with. But they never actually said what those overall, that big migration policy would actually be, other than sort of reaffirming that direction of travel under David Cameron, which was to get migration down to the likes of the tens of thousands. Well, what a hostage to fortune that was for David Cameron. So be very careful, I would advise, before making such grand claims, because often migration figures are driven by more than just your desire to get migration figures down. World events like the Ukraine crisis, like what happened in Hong Kong and Afghanistan, can drive net migration up. And also, of course, a real definite need in certain sectors of society and the likes of the health sector, a desperate need for people working in health and social care can drive those coming across. And of course within higher education as well, knowing just how important a money spinner that is for the higher education sector, but to the country as a whole from foreign students coming in, not necessarily from their dependents, of course, but that also was a determining factor in, education ministers arguing for a more lenient approach to the students that we were allowing in.
And in the meantime, is Labour doing enough to deter illegal arrivals? Because they say, well, they're claiming to be smashing criminal gang networks. How are they going about that?
Well, they are very lucky that we've had 2 or 3 storms, Bertie, and what was the other one that's just come?
Oh, Connell.
That have come in and made it impassable in the channel for about the last 8 or 9 days. So nothing's coming across. And that just shows you the greatest sort of driver in smashing the gangs is Mother Nature. But when she was not doing her worst in the English Channel, they were coming across at a rate of knots that was higher than last year, 34,000 we're up to now, compared to 29,437 for the 29,437 for the whole of last year. So we're way ahead of that. And if we get good weather in the month ahead before the end of the year, we could certainly be over 35,000, heading up towards 40,000. What will be interesting in the figures as well, bringing it back to today and what's coming out, will be a look at the breakdown. We already know what the headline figure is for those coming across, but the breakdown of the nationalities represented, because what we've seen in the last year or so is, for instance, we saw a year and a half ago or so, a big cohort of Indians coming across from the Indian subcontinent. Also, we saw Vietnamese over the last year very significantly represented in those crossings. So it'll be interesting to see whether that's still the same case. A lot of Turkish nationals coming across, mainly Turkish Kurds.
OK. Good to see you, Mark. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you. Well, at GB News, we love to hear what you think. So here's our poll of the day today. Do you agree with Kemi Badenoch that migrants should have their access to benefits limited? Well, 97% of you have said yes. 3% of you have said no. We'll bring you the live results throughout the day, so make sure you stay tuned. The final results will be announced later in Martin Daubney's show. And as always, for all the latest polls, news and how to vote, just go to gbnews.com/poll, or you can scan the QR code on your screen.
Now, a police investigation has been launched into associates of Mohammed Al-Fayed. They're suspected to have helped facilitate his alleged abuse of more than 100 women and girls.
Well, at the same time, the Metropolitan Police are undergoing an internal review into how the force handled claims about Al-Fayed before his death.
Let's talk to our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker, who's here. I mean, there's been talk for some time of who was behind, surrounding Mohammed Al-Fayed that could have assisted in all of this as these claims come forward. A Are we seeing a significant change in pace from the Metropolitan Police in now saying, look, we're going to look into this officially?
I think we are. We're certainly seeing them engage with the media. I mean, this is decades of abuse we are talking about, from 1977 up until 2014. More than 5 facilitators the Metropolitan Police are investigating who could well have helped, allegedly, Mohammed Al-Fayed carry out his alleged abuse. Now, Commander Stephen Clayman of the Metropolitan Police's Specialist Crime Command, he has spoken on camera, and this is what he said.
Now, while Al-Fayed is no longer alive to face prosecution, we are determined to bring anyone who is suspected to have played a part in his offending to justice. As a result of inquiries so far, we have now launched an investigation into a number of people associated with Mohammed Al-Fayed. This investigation will look at what role those individuals may have played in facilitating or enabling his offending, and what opportunities they had to protect victims from his horrendous abuse.
So 150 people have now come forward since that initial BBC documentary with information about Mohammed Al-Fayed, the documentary that aired in September. And from those 150, the Metropolitan Police has identified 90 new alleged victim survivors, some of which have alleged multiple offences. And that, of course, is on top of the 21 historical offences that the Metropolitan Police has already been involved with before the BBC documentary aired. The youngest alleged victim, I'm sorry to say, was 13 years old at the time of offending. All of them are female. And of course, Mohammed Al-Fayed died last year at the age of 94, so he never faced justice. Now, one victim has told the Daily Telegraph that Al-Fayed was actually arrested in 2013, but of course we know was never charged. The CPS was presented with evidence from the police twice, once in 2009 and the other in 2015. No charges were brought, and 2 complaints have been lodged against the Metropolitan Police from 2 women over their handling of this investigation back in 2008. So the police have confirmed they have referred themselves to the Independent Office of Police Conduct. They've also launched an internal investigation as to how they have handled all of this historically. So the question is, well, where on earth does the police go from here? Well, first of all, they're having to trawl through the 50,000 pages of evidence from this historical allegations. Then, of course, they're having to deal with all the new allegations, 90 new victims, as I said. But also, perhaps the wider and more significant point is, why on earth did he get away with it all of his life? Who knew what and when? Who turned a blind eye and when? And, of course, that information is still not public.
Yeah, there's still very big questions remaining. Cameron Walker.
Oh, no, before you go, I just want to ask you about Liz Hatton.
Oh, it's so sad, isn't it?
Well,
yeah.
It's incredibly sad, this 17-year-old girl who died yesterday. But we know her name because she was invited to Windsor Castle by the Prince and Princess of Wales just a month ago.
Yes, she was. I can't believe how quick it's been. Yes, she was 17 years old, Liz Hatton. She was suffering from a rare form of cancer, battling, I should say, a rare form of cancer, which was incurable, and she died in the early hours of this morning. Her mother announced, of yesterday morning even, her mother announced. And, of course, we had that lovely photograph here with the Prince and Princess of Wales, where she was invited to take photographs of Prince William carrying out an investiture. There's also another photograph of her and the Princess of Wales hugging. Of course, both had undergone cancer treatment. We don't have any statement from the Princess of Wales yet. I'd be surprised if she didn't say something at some point today. But she was carrying out, Liz, this bucket list because she was a keen photographer, like the Princess of Wales is, and she was carrying out this photography bucket list. She was at the ITV News studio. She was at Michael McIntyre's show as well, taking photographs of everything she possibly could do in the little time she had left. So she lived life to the full while she still could.
She absolutely did, and her photos will live on, won't they? Those fantastic photos that she's taken. Will you imagine that the Waleses will reach out to the family and go visit them?
Privately.
Privately, I suspect. I don't think they'll make a big song and dance about it because they wouldn't want to make it about them. This is about Liz and Liz's legacy and Liz's memory.
Yeah. OK. Cameron, thank you.
Now, at 15 minutes past 9, it's time now for our biggest and greatest Great British giveaway. Your chance to win £50,000 in tax-free cash. Here's how.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Yeah, best of luck to you on that one. Still to come, we're talking to our old mate Angela Rippon on this weekend's Strictly Come Dancing semi-finals.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
A Tesco store on a Scottish island has defied locals by ignoring pleas to stay closed on Sundays.
Tesco's has said that no member of staff in Stornoway would be forced to work on a Sunday and that it had received a significant amount of positive reaction to its plans.
Well, let's talk now to the Minister of the Reformed Presbyterian Church, Reverend Kenneth Stewart. Good morning to you, Reverend Stewart. You're trying to keep Sunday special, and if Tesco are going to open up, that means it won't be quite as special for you.
Well, yes, good morning, and thanks for having me on. Yes, Tesco, for some reason, they claim it's not economic advantage, but for some reason they've decided to go against hundreds of years of tradition on this island and the deeply held religious convictions of many, many people, including, of course, their own customers who are really grieved by this decision. We come, obviously, from the standpoint that a day of rest is effectively mandatory. It's a human right, along with the other 10 commandments which have undergirded our moral and legal fabric in society. It actually enshrines the human right to a day of rest. And of course, in the UK, that's been eroded for many, many years. Incidentally, it's still far more respected on the continent. But for us here, the Sabbath or the day of rest has been very, very important. It's not just what we do, it's who we are. And for some reason, Tesco have decided just to go against that.
Reverend Stewart, we were actually talking about this earlier, how in European countries, I mean, even in France, which is a secular country, still very few shops will open on a Sunday.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 19 minutes past 9 now. We're going to talk strictly in a moment with our next guest, but there's something else to talk about as well. It is the great Angela Rippon. Angela, lovely to see you. It's been a while.
Good morning, Stephen and Ellie. It's lovely to see you too.
I remember, Angela, when we were working on this show, actually, a few months ago, and I said to you in a break, how do you cope with getting older and with the idea that time is limited? You know, inevitably. And you said something about, well, you've just got to live life to the most and make the most of it. I love the fact that today you're pushing this charity, aren't you, which is all to do with legacy and how you can make a difference after your day.
Yeah, and not just a charity, more than 200 of them who are all part of a consortium to remind people that, I mean, it's one of those things that I think a lot of people don't like talking about, which is making a will, and we all have to do it eventually. And really, it's called Remember a Charity. In other words, when you're making your will, try and remember a charity. I'm sure that most of your viewers, and certainly I think, I know you guys and I certainly, I already support quite a lot of charities in my life because I actually believe in what they do. And I've come to realize, I think over the years as a journalist, never mind just as an ordinary member of society, that there are a whole load of aspects of our life, whether it's education and health or the environment or whatever, that would frankly collapse if they didn't have the support of charity, because there's no money coming from the government to support them. And they're all doing brilliant things, and that's why I want to support them. And I support them in life. And so when I came to write my will, I thought, well, what would be rather nice is that, as well as leaving anything that I've got left to friends and family, I would like to think that the work that I've been doing to charities during my life can continue after I've gone. And that's not because it's important to me, but because I recognise that it's actually very important to the charities, because they need to know that they've got money in the bank coming into them, that they've got a legacy coming to them that's going to enable them to continue the work that they do, which actually affects, when you think of it, I can't think of any aspect of any of our lives that isn't involved somewhere in a charity, whether it's, you know, a medical condition that we're interested in, or because we care about the environment, or our local school needs a bit of support, or there are charities internationally that would not be able to do the terrific work that they do without our support. So it's a no-brainer for me, actually, that when I die, I hope that in my will, a lot of the charities that I've supported during my lifetime will find that I'm prepared to support them long after I've gone.
Oh, that's a really beautiful way to think about it, Angela. I've got to ask you about Strictly Come Dancing, because this series has been amazing, but you, last year, you truly shone. You were just captivating. Honestly, you were amazing. Did you love that experience?
I had a ball. I loved every minute of it. Of course I do. I mean, it helped enormously that everybody that you work with on the team, behind the camera and in front of it, and all the dancers are all just absolutely fabulous. You know, they're a fabulous group of people to work with. And in Kai Widrington, I had a fabulous, fabulous partner. I mean, he and I have become great, great mates and still work on projects together. So the whole experience for me was just wonderful. I loved every minute of it.
Yeah, and you got a high kick in as well, which is marvellous.
A few of them, yes.
A few of them, indeed. Look, Angela, we've got to leave it there, but lovely to see you, as always. Thanks very much indeed.
You have a great day, you two. Bye now.
You too, Angela. Thanks so much.
Oh, she's so...
Oh, isn't she so glam?
She's amazing.
And she's so thin and just so glam. And when she was in this newsroom, I was like, wow.
She is amazing.
To be Angela Rippon.
I want to be Angela Rippon when I grow up
brilliant.
too.
What have you two got in your show today?
Farmers' protests. We know that our audience are very involved in this story, that we feel really passionately about the treatment of the farmers. They are taking their protest to the next level. We'll tell you what they're doing today and what they did yesterday.
Absolutely. Well, of course, we'll have that press conference with Nigel Farage. He's going to be talking about the immigration figures.
Yep.
That'll be live during our time.
Yep. And we are going to get these new immigration figures, quarterly immigration figures, hopefully just after 9:30.
They should be significantly down, shouldn't
They won't be down enough.
Oh, well, no.
That's for sure.
Right direction, though, Anne.
Yeah, and it'll be as a result of measures taken by the last government.
Yes.
But too little, too late.
And we've got someone coming on from Pet or Animal Charity to say that we need to treat foxes better and stop calling them sly. So that'll be fun.
All right.
Oh, OK.
All right. Thanks very much indeed.
Jam-packed show. Thanks, you two.
We'll see you tomorrow. Here's the weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's going to be a cold and frosty start across much of the country with some mist and fog in places too. Generally turning brighter, though we're likely to see some rain push up from the southwest. So a cold and frosty start, possibly seeing some ice in places too, but generally brightening up through the course of the day, though some mist and fog may be stubborn to clear at times. We'll begin to start to see a bit of change from the southwest as we see an influx of cloud and some outbreaks of rain and drizzle, this turning heavy at times, particularly around Northern Ireland. It is bringing in some milder air though, so temperatures around 8 to 10 degrees in the southwest, but elsewhere it is going to be a rather chilly day on offer. It's also going to be turning quite blustery under that cloud and rain, particularly around western coasts. Outbreaks of heavy rain generally pushing their way into western coasts of Scotland, though the far northeast of Scotland largely staying dry. Still feeling chilly though. Outbreaks of rain continuing across Northern Ireland, still fairly blustery here too, particularly around coasts of Northern Ireland, northwest England too. Elsewhere though, it is going to be a largely dry end to the day. Still some rain and drizzle across parts of Devon and Cornwall, and we're likely to see some clear spells as we head into the evening too. 2. So once again, likely to see some mist and fog and some turning quite chilly under those clearer spells too. So likely to see some frost by the time we reach the morning. Different story there across northern parts of Scotland, where that rain's likely to linger through much of the night, and still those blustery winds continuing in the west. Milder in the west too, particularly under those cloudier skies, but chillier in the east, particularly under those clearer skies. Now, as we head through into Friday, once again, another chilly start with some frost and fog in places, brightening up through the course of the day. But then we almost have a rinse and repeat, really, with more cloud and rain sweeping in from the west, this heavy at times. And it continues to stay rather blustery under cloudier skies too, though likely to see some sunshine across central and southeastern areas, but still another chilly day on the cards.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Aberdeenshire, the A90 is closed each way at Rathen after an accident. In County Durham, the A179 is blocked eastbound by an accident off the A19 Sheraton Junction, causing queues. On the M62 in Greater Manchester, there's a lane closed westbound where someone has a puncture between junctions 19 and 18. From Hayward to Sinister Ryland, it's slowed towards and past there. On Merseyside, the A567 is closed along Lineker Road in Litherland for an investigation. On the M6 in Staffordshire, the inside lane's closed northbound where a van caught fire between junctions 14 and 15 from Stafford North to Stoke-on-Trent, with long delays towards there. And in London, the A503 is closed along Seven Sisters Road off the A1 Holloway Road in Holloway because of a fire. Delays towards there and as you divert. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
3 incredible young people from Essex are planning to become the youngest people ever to row, not sail, row, across the Atlantic Ocean.
It's about for 3,000 miles.
It is.
Give or take.
Almost exactly that, Sam.
The 3 flying fish, so-called, consists of Anna, Dunk, Harry, Alan and Rowan Daly, who are preparing to row that 3,000 miles across the Atlantic. It would be the second largest ocean in the world. And the trio are aiming to do that challenge in support of the Teenage Cancer Trust.
Well, I'm very pleased to say that Anna and Harry from the Flying Fish join us now. Very good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
I think the two of you are bonkers, but brilliant. Absolutely incredible what you're doing to raise money for Teenage Cancer Trust. Why did you want to do this?
So our third person, Rowan, his friend actually died. So when he was in secondary school, I believe, one of his peers passed away, and Teenage Cancer Trust supported them and their family a lot. So it was definitely the right charity. Yeah, it was.
Absolutely awful. So you wanted to do something to raise money for teenage cancer. Why rowing?
So my dad did it in 2021.
The trip, the Atlantic trip?
Yeah, he rowed it as a pair. Where we live in Essex, they actually build the boats there. So we used to cycle round there past the boatyard, and he got interested and actually did it. He was the first year after COVID. And one night, we all met in the Air Cadets, so one night after Air Cadets, Rowan actually dropped me off home and the boat was outside. We were obviously waiting to get it sold. And I think he was asking some questions and we stood there at my porch and went, Rowan said, I reckon we could do that.